Hello?
Hello.
Oh, I was just talking. Do you know that guy on Telegram? His name is Emo Monk.
hmm Yes, you kind of drew my attention to him. What's
Yes.
happened?
Oh, let me see if he wants to come on the stream now.
I hope he comes.
Here, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna send it to him. Hold on. But I've been talking with him,
Mm-hmm.
and his whole thing. He's one of these mystical junkies. You know, um, yeah, he's one of these mystical junkies, and tries to get you believe in magic, and or he wouldn't call it magic. He would call it, I don't know. But he believes that, is it possible to like heal yourself from like diseases and walk through walls and shit like that? Like, ultimately, does he believe that that's possible? Yes, he's like one of those people. But we were talking because we streamed yesterday about my new blog, Christian Science Hinduism.blogspot.com, and talking about how Christian Science can give you mental illness. And basically, what I was talking with him is like, okay, so he said, no, you can't get to what I'm trying to tell you by rational, logical experience. You need to engage in all these different kinds of activities and rituals and meditations and unusual thinking, and then you'll perceive this on your own. But at the same time, so they're getting you to do things that can cause mental illness, and they even admit it can cause mental illness. He admits it can cause mental illness, like extreme meditation, fasting, repetitive prayers, these different kinds of things, unusual thought patterns that can cause hallucinations. So basically, what I'm saying is that when everything goes bad and you get a bad hallucination, it's mental illness. But when you get a good hallucination, then that's what they call that now these magical, mystical powers. But the thing is, like, what's the proof in the pudding? Can you ever display these magical, mystical powers? No, you can't. So if this is just something that you're experiencing in your head, like, oh, I've experienced that, I can materialize and dematerialize. Like, can you do it in front of anybody?
Hmm. I don't think he'll be coming because he's blocked me.
He's blocked
I've been
you.
having I've been having similar discussions. So I've basically been saying it's a bunch of crap. He thinks he's Harry Potter, um, and he just wants to lose himself and waste his life, you know, talking shit. So I don't think he'll be joining us. He's just,
No, he said he's not coming because he wants to keep a low metadata footprint. But I mean, the point is, I feel as though I've been talking with him for a while, and I'm like trying to catch him because I'm very much against this magical thinking that's taking over, and I think it really is unhealthy.
yes, it is.
Um,
He just wants to lose himself in this stupid shit. And because he doesn't want to engage in politics because he thinks it's for the birds. He doesn't want to engage in politics because he can't bear to have a proper political argument because he's obviously not going to have one with me. He doesn't want to defend his position because he knows he can't defend it
oh yeah, that's the other
because
thing.
he wants to win.
He can't defend it in
Pathetic.
that every time I ask him to explain these things to me, he's like, no, you have to experience it yourself. Here's the book, here's the manual, how to like hypnotize yourself and do this, and then you'll understand everything that I'm talking about. And I basically told him, I said, I'm not going to engage in activities which can cause mental illness, in order to obviously what's happening is you're getting people to engage in activities that cause mental illness, and then the mental illness confirms what you've just told them. You know what I mean? Like, they must hallucinate. Like, yeah, like, people, you can meditate until you hallucinate. That's totally possible.
Yeah, and then you might think that you felt God, you saw God, you talked to God when you were high on drugs, but nobody's going to believe you. So what's the point? What's the point? Whether you meditated until you thought you saw God, or took so many drugs that you thought you saw God. What the fuck point is it?
Well,
Because
yeah,
nobody will believe you anyway.
I know. And then what are you supposed to do with that? Okay, so okay, I don't know what this experience is supposed to teach me. Like, I don't know how I mean, basically, what am I supposed to am I supposed to see something? Am I supposed to be able to disappear or elevate, levitate? Like, what am I supposed to experience that's going to prove to me that this method, or that whatever God exists, or that God, or that we have free will, or any of these different kinds of unusual ideas, what is supposed to happen to me by doing all these kind of like mind tricks on myself? Um, and then
Misery
after,
loves company.
and then after that, like, what am I supposed to take away from that? My subjective experience. So I take away my subjective experience away from that, and like, okay, it's not right. It's not rules. It's not morals, really. Is that morals? I mean, maybe I don't know if that's really morals or can give you morals, or by doing these practices. I don't necessarily think it's about morals, because even immoral people can do it. You know what I mean? And like, well, like in Hinduism, there's dark sorcerers and stuff that like can use Vedanta to do fucked up things. You
Mm.
know, yeah, there's, so it's not like you can't use it for ill, though they would say if you use it for ill, you'll get harmed, or you don't really understand, or you don't get the full, they have all the, all the little traps and stuff that you have to do it the right way. And I guess I don't know where they get ethics from. I don't know if they said that they talked to God and then God gave them ethics, and I don't really know where. I mean, where would you even get that from? Who says, that, by, I don't know how you get ethics out of that. You just have to make ethics up. And if people would just admit that they were subjective and just say, look, I can't prove that this is the right way to live, but this is how we're going to live here, because the vast majority of people want it to be this way, because because that's just the way that they feel, and they can't help but feel that way, and it's their conviction and they can't prove it, but they're going to enforce it anyway. I mean, I don't understand why people can't say that. I don't know why they need to, say, oh, God said that you have to do it this way.
Well, the trouble with you saying, giving people your definition of ethics is that it's like morality. It's like, well, who are you to say what morality is?
Well, who
Because
is
there'll be
anyone?
somebody else saying, I have a different set of morals to you. So you'll never get anywhere. That's why God is actually necessary, um, for 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 morality to be discussed.
No, it doesn't. It for objective morality to be discussed, you need God. But I mean, I don't think that these like pagan Greeks and pagan emperors. I think they knew very well that the laws that they were passing were made up by themselves and not by anyone else. You know what I mean? I think they knew very well that this was, not some kind of like objective standard that, you know, uh, that all humans had to go by. I think they just said, well, in Rome, this is the way we're going to do things in Rome, and this is what the Caesar wants, and this is the way we're doing it.
Okay,
And
but I understand what you're saying, but I'm also saying that they all these different legal systems that have been reasonably successful because we hear about it through history have you know some common principles such as no killing, stealing. Um, we have to marry. We have to have children within wedlock. I mean, there would be some basic precepts that are shared by these civilizations um, anywhere in the world, because you just wouldn't be able to have a functioning society if you said murder is okay. Um, sexual immorality is okay, stealing is okay, and we don't need a court and legal system. So
Well,
for practical
I mean,
reasons, we should have no high laws.
the more I realize this, the more I realize that no, not everyone can be beyond this. Not everyone can sit there and say, let's outlaw murder, because if we don't outlaw murder, our society is going to collapse. Like, most people need God to tell them that, not because it makes logical sense, not because it's rational, not because they can observe it in society, but only because God, said so. And the point is that you have to get rid of these people. You have to outbreed them.
Sorry, who do you have to get rid of?
You have to get rid of the people who can't say outlaw murder because it makes sense, that they will only do it if God has told them so. Like, that they need God they cannot be moral on their own. These people who need God cannot just they're not naturally, rationally, logically moral people. They don't sit there and say, oh, I would never, they can't sit there and be like, well, I just don't believe in that. I don't believe in doing that. I think that's wrong. Like, they don't have that sense in them. They need God in order to back them up. They need God to back them up.
You basically want to exterminate people who believe in God.
Not people who need God in order to give them morality. I think people who need God to give them morality are a threat to society.
How?
Because they need God to give them morality, and especially if they only take one God.
So you basically execute all the prophets of God, going all the way back to Abraham.
Well, yes. I mean, in the system that I'm trying to promote, you can't be a monotheist. So, yes. And
then you'd have to prove that your morality is better than the morality of the Abrahamic religions.
I can't. Nobody can do that. I can't prove that. There's no way to prove that, unless, well, and then there's always like these, like, okay, well, this moral system does this, but this moral system does that. But then there's like there's values about, like, okay, what's more moral? Is it more moral to have gun control and people can't kill each other? Or is it more moral to have guns and then, somebody shoots up a school? Which is more moral? Like, there's a big debate over that.
Okay, well, basically Americans believe that in their Second Amendment rights, unless they have a referendum on the matter to settle the thing once and for all, and presumably the reason for the Second Amendment is because of the tyranny of the absolute monarchies that the early Americans came from.
Okay, but I can't prove one moral is better than the other. One moral stops you from being subjugated by the government and if everyone has guns, but the second moral, opens up the road to like schools getting shot up. Like, okay, which is better? There's no such thing. You just have to take a subjective value and just admit you're making a subjective value judgment. Just say, okay, I believe that even though children get shot up in schools, it's still better for everyone to have a gun. Because
okay, yes, you would have to take a position on that. But what I'm saying is that it's not just one law we're talking about. We are talking about moral systems. So there is this idea that America was built on Judeo-Christian principles. Do you accept this narrative?
No, I don't accept that it was a little bit, maybe a little bit, but no, I mean, what is it? Couldn't have been built on Christian principles, because what is a Christian principle?
Well, Christianity would be impossible without Judaism, because
yes.
Gentiles culturally appropriated the scripture of Jews.
Yes, and their morals, and their more.
It's a Tanakh. Yes. So I mean, that's why people like Melanie Phillips said, well, America is built on our principles. That's what she says. I mean, I can find you.
What did she say, Melanie Phillips? What did she say?
She said America was built on our principles, meaning the principles of Jews, the principles of Judaism, rather.
Yeah, no, it obviously wasn't. I mean, there's nothing. It obviously
I mean,
wasn't.
if you accept the narrative that Christianity was a cultural appropriation of the scripture of Judaism, then you would have to agree with Melanie Phillips.
Yeah, but no, America is built on democracy and republics, and the Torah is not a republic. Torah is either a kingdom or ruled by judges. It's not a republic. There was no republics in the Old Testament.
Wasn't the time of the judges a republic? Because then they had no king, and then I forget which verse was it, but when they said Samuel, wasn't it the book of Samuel, and there was this exchange with God. The Jews said, "Oh, look at these cool Gentiles! They've got kings. We want one too," and God kind of said, "Are you sure?" And the Jews went, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." And God was not very happy with them, and then they had terrible kings.
That doesn't change the point that republics are not biblical. Okay, the Constitution cannot be found in the Old Testament. Freedom of religion cannot be found in the Old Testament. Freedom of speech cannot be found in the Old Testament. Like none of this. I don't even, right to bear arms. I don't know if they had the right to bear arms if everyone did in these kingdoms. I'm not sure. Like there's lots of things that. Well, what did we take from them? We took slavery from them. Okay,
Well, the First Amendment is supported. Okay, well, how about saying America is founded on Islamic principles? Because
but
the
it's
First
not.
Amendment is supported by Chapter 2, verse 256 of the
If it was
Quran.
based on Islamic principles, we would outlaw pork and we would have Sharia if it was based on Islamic principles. And
well, that's what I'm proposing, really.
okay, but it obviously wasn't. America wasn't based on Islamic principles because
what about the White House Quran that belonged to Thomas
so
Jefferson?
what? There's not an ounce of Sharia in the it doesn't the Constitution doesn't deal with inheritance laws and gender and
the First Amendment is obviously from the Quran.
No, it's not. No, it's do you really think that people who were suffering wars in Europe needed the Quran to give them the idea that their freedom of religion? No, they were sick of.
Well, they didn't. In Europe, there was no freedom of religion. It was the American Republic that started the whole
and they came. I think they came up.
Reigning.
I don't think that they needed to go to the Quran to come up with the idea of freedom of religion. I think they could have come up with that on their own. You know what I mean? And this is the other thing that you people are into. You cannot come up with anything on your own. Everything has to come from your holy book and God. This is for people who don't come up with their own ideas and cannot come up with their own good ideas. And so therefore they can't believe that anyone else came up with a good idea on their own. And if there's any good idea.
You can't prove that Thomas Jefferson didn't come up with the idea of the First Amendment on his own, because the White House Quran belonged to Thomas Jefferson, who bought a copy of the Quran in 1765 when he was just a law student. And you'd have to prove that he never read the Quran.
Well, you have to prove that he read the Quran and that's what changed his mind, that before that he was dead set, no freedom of religion, and then he read that and said, oh, now I believe in it. And you also have to prove that this also affected all the rest of the constitutional signers, because they all had to get on and agree with it. So now you have this big conspiracy about everyone reading the Quran, and it's a bigger conspiracy to say that everyone read the Quran and got on page with it than to say, you know what, from their living experience, they said we want freedom of religion because we didn't have it. You know what I mean? Like, one goes a lot farther than the other. I think if there was this big Quranic discourse, it would be somewhere in the literature. I think Thomas Jefferson would have, if he told them, hey guys, I just read the Quran and it says this, I think somewhere in the literature, the Quranic discussion would have come up.
Well, maybe it's been suppressed.
No, Claire, I think you're stretching. I think you're really stretching for something there that, just because somebody had a good idea that's in the Quran doesn't mean that they got it from the Quran.
But Thomas Jefferson owned a copy of the
So
Quran.
what? So do I, and I never read. I read like half of it only because you made me. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
but I imagine the fact that Thomas Jefferson ordered a copy of it when he was a law student suggests that he did read it, and it is
You
on
don't know
record
that.
that he read it before negotiating with the Barbary pirates.
Okay, Claire. I don't think that anyone is. I don't think anyone who takes history very seriously is going to say that. Rather than living their own experience of lack of freedom of religion, rather than that leading them to declare freedom of religion, it's because they were not thinking that at all until they read the Quran. Like I just don't think anyone would agree with that. I don't believe that this thought was not in anyone's head before Thomas Jefferson read the Quran. I don't think freedom of religion was just totally unknown to the whole world until the Quran came out. Like it's just I don't think that that's true.
Well, you can have certain presumption, such as in Asia, there was freedom of belief because there are all these different temples, different kinds of pagan temples, and there's also Islam and Christianity in India, for example. But then we also know that India was conquered by the Mughals, who were Muslims, and also conquered by the British, who were Christians. Um, and people call themselves Christians. What do they really believe in? And also, if you're an imperialist, you would have to logically and necessarily be multicultural, and you maybe don't want to fight people who want to keep their religion as long as they pay you tribute. So you're going to say, as China does, we're all one big happy family, living under the Chinese empire, and we're going to be okay with you. 56 different ethnicities and all these different religions of China, as long as you keep paying your taxes. And I'm sure any imperialist, whether Chinese or not, would take that view. And and
Yeah,
as
well,
for
they
the
probably
early Americans, um, I would suggest that maybe the founding fathers. Okay, I am saying that the founding fathers were rejected the Trinity, and Thomas Jefferson, with his Jefferson Bible, what do you think he was trying to say with the Jefferson Bible? Have you made a study of it?
so he just wanted only what Jesus said, right? It wasn't he didn't want what the apostles said or what anyone else said. I mean, isn't the Jefferson Bible like 2 pages? I mean,
Yeah,
isn't it's like all of 2 pages, right? I don't even think it's 100 pages. It's probably less than that.
yeah. He basically cut out with a razor all the bits that he thought was irrelevant, and that would include the Pauline epistles.
Yeah, well, I mean, this doesn't really leave too much for you to like work with, and
Well, I'm saying that the founding fathers would be in difficulties if they had said anything like, "Hey, why don't we just become Muslims and operate Sharia?" Because they know they would be overthrown by all these Christians who weren't going to receive that well.
don't
But
you
I'm
think?
saying
Don't you
21st
think?
century Americans would not take that position.
So you're just spewing this conspiracy theory that there were all these revolutionaries who wanted Islam, but they didn't do it because they were scared, and now modern historians are suppressing all this Islamic, intellectual history of the Constitution.
No, I'm certainly not saying that all the founding fathers rejected the Trinity, but at least five of them did.
No, but
They were not.
you're acting. You just said that these revolutionaries wanted Sharia, but they were too scared to upset the Christians.
Yeah. Well, the
Claire, this. I
founding
mean,
fathers. Okay, the main founding fathers. Who were they? It was Adams. It was Franklin. It was Jefferson. It was Madison. It was Washington. These are the
yes,
most important founding fathers.
yes,
These
but none
five.
of them.
They
There's no.
rejected the Trinity.
Yeah, but none of them were looking for Sharia. I mean, none of them. There's.
Okay, I'm going to call them proto-Muslim. Proto meaning not quite. And obviously they're not. Oh, do you agree that Noahides are, sorry, Masons were Noahides?
Not real. They want to be Noahides. I mean, are they Noahides? Probably not. Um, yes and no. Not really. Kind of. Pseudo. Semi. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The that
Well,
wasn't
well,
the Jews.
they couldn't be. I think the correct answer must be that they couldn't be. Um, they couldn't be Noahides because of the because Christians made up such a large, were probably the biggest group. Yes.
They wanted to be Noahides. The Jews didn't go and give them that status. They gave themselves that status.
Yes, and I think, okay, you know that I have this particular theory about the Masons, which is that their purpose is really for Jews and Noahides to um, be in a fraternity
Jews
of
and
people who
Muslims, you
think,
mean?
yeah, and for Christians who want to think of themselves as Noahides, to be in a fraternity until the time comes when it is safe for Jews and Muslims to tell Christians that that they're idolaters and blasphemers and they better repent. And the time has come. But unfortunately for the Masons, they are um, diluting their own principles, because yesterday I sent you a link showing that uh, um, these Masons are now obliged to admit transgender women as well as transgender men. So they have, um, well, they're not to be trusted, really, because they have diluted their principles in such a fundamental way. And that's why principles are so important, and everybody is diluting their principles. And we are in great danger if we are just going to play fast and loose with our religious and moral principles. I hope you're not going to be one of them. Are you going to be one of them?
Be a person who what? Dilly dallies
Dilutes
with.
their moral principles. Do you consider yourself to be a moral person?
No, I have subjective values that I hold. I don't know moral person. What does that mean? I mean, I'm an ethical person, according to me, but to me only. Like I can't extrapolate that. I can't. Anyone who says I'm a moral person doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like that's just their opinion, and I don't really care about your opinion.
Okay, but at least you aspire to be a moral person. Would it be fair to say that you aspire to be a moral person?
I aspire to live with my subjective values. Whether they're not ultimately moral, I'm not like there's no ultimate morality that I need to follow. So, I mean, I'm just following what I believe is best. I'm just following what I believe is best. I'm not
Would
claiming.
you? Yes. Well, I mean that at least is something, isn't it? That you're at least prepared to wrestle with the concept of morality, and you're hopefully prepared to discuss it. Would you say
Kind
you're
of.
prepared to discuss it?
You always discuss morality, but I mean, my thing is always going to be that, like, it's subjective. I'm never going to be like, oh yes, this is a universal. I'm never going to say anything is a universal moral principle, because the only time that would be gravity is the universal principle. Like that's
But
a
that's just
universe.
a physical law.
Yeah, but it's a universal principle that nobody denies. I mean, there's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people that deny each other's values that are subjective all the time. And to just say, oh well, my values are objective. Like, who are you?
I'm are you saying then that it wouldn't be useful to have some objective morality?
It would be lying, and it would be authoritarianism and tyranny. to say that there were objective standards for morality that couldn't change. Yeah, that would be tyrannical.
Okay, but you propose imposing a tyranny because you're going to basically exterminate anyone who wants to believe in God or proposes believing in God.
Well, if they're a
Speaking of
monotheist,
whom, there's Colin. Do you want to
oh
talk to?
yeah, you can invite him in. Do you have the link?
Mhm.
Sure, you can invite him. Um, well, you couldn't be a monotheist. So you could be a polytheist, but you couldn't be a monotheist because then you're saying that you have objective values and your values are superior to other people's values, and like it just if it was a monotheist state, it wouldn't change. The values wouldn't change over time, and they wouldn't evolve, and you
Well,
know
they do. You already know that what happened. Okay, for Islamic history, there were the rightly guided caliphs. There were four of them, and after that, everything just went to shit. And that's how they are now. But even though their civilization has basically gone to shit, they have the capacity to repent. And if they didn't follow their own principles for a while, they can follow them. They can start to follow them. But Christians are at a disadvantage because they are completely astray because the New Testament doesn't even say anything about anything. And then you can't, as for the Jews, well, they don't even want to live in a Torah theocracy. Um, did we discuss the rabbi wars, the rabbinical rivalry that, I don't know if I talked about it with you, but oh yes, it was with Sam. So Sam Samuels was basically talking about these kind of gangster rabbis who were threatening each other and insulting each other and stuff, and and that made me think of how rabbis would get rid of their rivals if they wanted to by accusing them of all kinds of things that would end in their being executed, in their rabbinical rival in being executed. And I know this rabbi, I knew this rabbi who said rule by rabbi would be a complete nightmare, and he himself was an Orthodox rabbi. So, and speaking of which, the no-height laws. I mean, I think the no-height laws is very useful in that they're meant to be uncontroversial. They're meant to make Gentiles think, "Oh, I agree with that, don't you? It's perfectly sensible. Who would disagree with a law against murder, theft, sexual immorality, etc." And basically, that's what the, the their construction and their wording is intended to be uncontroversial. It's intended to invite Gentile agreement that this is indeed what the no-height laws should be.
well, that wouldn't have been true if Christianity and Islam had not taken over. I mean, if it was just the Jews and Noahitism and everyone else were polytheistic, idolatrous pagans, nobody would just say, "Oh, these are totally innocuous laws." The only reason that half the world thinks they're fine is because they're Christians and Muslims. It's not because they're definitely totally innocuous sounding. I mean, which is why Jews say that God used Islam and Christianity to prepare the way for the Noahide laws. And I mean, that's the way they view Muslims as they don't view Muslims as the Noahide religion. They view Muslims as the pre-Noahide religion that came in to pave the way for Noahidism, which makes more sense because you say so. So actually, it's more likely to go in that direction because the easy way has already been spread across the earth with Islam, which is not so strict, and but it just was getting people ready for the real deal because now what if you've gotten rid of all the polytheist idolaters, then if you say, well, no idolatry or you're killed, who's left to complain about that? The Muslims got rid of all of them. So
So
it's
we got
more
rid of what?
who if everyone became Muslim, who is left to complain about the thing about killing idolaters? Nobody. So it wouldn't be
Well,
so
Muslims
hard.
are not supposed to kill
I
idolaters.
know, but if they wouldn't have a problem with it if there weren't any left. Nobody would complain.
Well, Muslims are basically saying that even Jews and Muslims, apparently playing correctly, could be guilty of hidden idolatry, and hidden
I know.
idolatry is always a danger because it makes the person guilty of it not follow their religious principles.
Yeah, well, you don't follow your religious principle. Well, the point that I'm making is that 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 Islam is going to slide into Noahidism, because if you just go to a bunch of idolaters and say kill idolaters, they're going to say, oh my God, this sounds horrible. If you go to a bunch of Muslims and you say kill idolaters, and I mean, they're not going to flip out. They're not going to like, oh my God, that's me and my children. You know, they're going to be like, well, I mean, idolatry is a bad thing, and people shouldn't become doing idolatry, and it is an abomination, and God does hate it, and all this other kind of stuff. And so it's not that big of a pill to swallow.
Okay, but in practice, most Muslims hate Jews and do not even want the support of the Noahide laws. Because, I mean, what I've been trying to do with the Muslims is say, hey, why don't you go and pester some rabbis to rank the four Gentile religions, ranking Islam the most and Christianity the least, Noahide, and they're basically been saying, we don't give a shit about their dumb Noahide laws. We don't need their approval. We're not going to ask them for anything. We hate them. Okay,
Well,
so that
I
is
mean,
their
that's
that
very
is their
well.
position.
Still, they have a 200-year start on you. They did provide. God told the Jews to provide something to humans, and they did it, and you rejected it. So
Okay,
I'm
well, no, okay, I just want to talk about how clever the no-height laws are, because the first two no-height laws echo exactly the Ten Commandments. So Christians who have stolen the scripture of Jews from them and who know their Ten Commandments will be, they won't be in a position to say, oh, hey, what's this about forbidding idolatry and blasphemy? Because they would have to kind of say, oh, well, we can't quarrel with that because we're supposed to support. We're supposed to obey the Ten Commandments, and they forbid idolatry and blasphemy. And I think the no-hide laws were crafted to put Christians on the spot. So this kind of so really
well, they weren't
Christians are.
crafted specifically only for Christians.
You were the one who told me that the no-hide laws came after the founding of Christianity.
They did. No,
Yeah,
well,
but
they were
so
they
obviously
wait, 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 wait,
the
wait, wait, wait,
Jews
wait,
were
wait,
thinking about.
wait. No. They were written down in the Talmud after Christianity. It doesn't mean that they didn't exist before Christianity. I don't know about that, but they were written down. They weren't in the old Torah. They weren't written down officially, formally until what 400 years after Jesus, whenever the Talmud was written.
Right. So
And the point
no, but the
is,
thing is, it's directed. The no-hide laws are directed at Christians
no, they're
to
directed at
basically.
everyone. They're directed at everyone, not just Christians. They're directed at pagans.
Okay, but they can be used on Christians because of idolatry and blasphemy. It's like, hey, don't you Christians worship an executed blasphemer called Jesus? And they can't deny it because they themselves say that Jesus was crucified by the Jews. He was convicted of blasphemy by the Jews. So what's and it's like, well, you don't deny that Jesus is divine, do you? And then they'll have to say, no, it is part of the Trinity to say that Jesus is divine. It's like, well, then you're guilty of idolatry then, aren't you? And the Jews have not been able to make this point because they are cowards and hypocrites.
Which and if these Noahides keep talking the way that they keep talking, they'll be viewed as not being cowards and hypocrites. And
Which no-hides? They're just so
okay,
dumb.
well,
I
even if
mean,
they're few in number, at least they're not. At least they're not. I don't think that there's any such thing. Noahidism isn't big enough or old enough yet to have like a liberal tradition of people who broke away who still want to call
Do they
themselves
even have a
Noahides.
leader?
Okay, it doesn't matter. The point is that there's no such thing as like a gay Noahide movement. Like, there's no such thing as like gay Noahide churches or anything like that. They don't have that kind of stuff. They haven't been around long enough, and like it wouldn't go that direction anyway because it's more strict than Islam anyway. You would actually there would be no gay people around to start a gay Noahide movement. It just that
No,
would
no,
never.
because if you did, it'll be oh, um, minus 6 no hide movements. Because yesterday you were saying that you would follow some of the no hide laws, except the law forbidding idolatry, blasphemy, and sexual immorality, because he wanted to promote these three. So
You're
you would
changing.
be, no hide law -3.
You're changing this. You're changing the point is that Muslims is that Noahides have more principles than Muslims do.
How can you say that? I
Because
mean,
because because I've never come across a lackadaisical, secular, gay, feminist Noahide. It just doesn't happen.
okay, so you can't just say, oh, some Muslims are bad and therefore all Muslims are bad. You really need, I mean, to be fair, um, find a Islamic scholar to say these things. I mean, there's no point asking ordinary Muslims, most of whom have not even read the Quran, to say anything. And if they do offer their dumb opinions, you can't take them seriously because, they have no qualifications and no knowledge. So on these
Okay, so
matters, you
all you do is complain about how the Gentiles and the Noahide laws would have to ask Jews, but then you have a bunch of Noahides who are learned in their scriptures, even if they did ask Jews, and know what's going on and can practice their religion properly and have conviction. So why should I not listen to them? Why should I listen to a bunch of Muslims who don't read their scriptures and can't get it together and don't know what the fuck they're talking about and don't follow their religion anyway?
sorry, whose authority are you relying on?
Okay, if Noahides, who cares? If Noahides are keeping up their principles, who cares if they listen to Jews? If Muslims are not keeping up their principles, who cares if they don't listen to Jews? The point is that people are going to want to go with people who actually keep principles
Okay.
and know what they're talking about and actually read their scriptures and are involved and are serious and not not joining the gay parade.
Okay, so we need in each of these groups to find a leader to represent their group, right?
Well, that won't happen in Islam. There's no central authority in Islam.
Yes, so the Ummah would have to choose one to say you represent all of us, and we know of the Sunni and Shia divide, and so they're not going to agree anytime soon. And Jews are in the same position, really, because even Gentiles can't agree about which Jew is head Jew.
Well, no,
Is
because
it
there is
is it
no.
a is it and which Jew? Okay, so everybody's going to agree that secular Jews are more powerful, but
I don't
then
know if that's
religious Jews
true.
would
I
say,
don't know.
but they're all heretics.
I don't know if secular Jews are any longer, any more powerful. So, I mean, they're more in number, but the Orthodox are getting so much power in the government and in politics and as advisors and as influencers that the idea that the Orthodox are nothing and that the liberal Jews have all the power while they're having no children and out marrying and no longer have the backing of Israel. I don't know if that's necessarily true that they're all powerful anymore.
Okay, so the vying with each other for. I mean, you see, the Gentiles can easily flip this position by just completely ignoring the secular Jews, like saying, "Well, we're not talking to you, we're not listening to you on anything to do with morality because you are all heretics." Because the religious Jews is have labelled you as such; they call you heretics. who are dead to Judaism because you're secular, liberal, assimilated Jews, and you are dead to Judaism. So we don't have to listen to you on anything. I mean, that's how the righteous Gentile could flip the position on secular Jews. Just by ignoring them and only talking to rabbis, or at least, okay. So with regard to the religious Jews, that only the ultra-Orthodox are worth talking to, because and then even then the quite a few sects and Chabad are particularly in bad odor with other 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 sects of Judaism, because they think the stupid Chabad are stupid. Did you watch that video by Yaron Reuven about the Chabad tunnels in Brooklyn?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that. Is he an anti-Semite or?
No. Yaron Reuven is an ultra-Orthodox rabbi.
Oh, that's right. Yes. What did he say about the tunnels?
Well, he just basically said Chabad are wrong and stupid, and they might even be guilty of idolatry, because they carry on as if they carry on as if Schneerson was still alive, and that's idolatry. So he was basically saying that they better watch themselves, these Chabadniks, and their supposedly holy rabbi, because it's idolatry.
Yeah, well, they're probably more powerful collectively than he is. So
yeah, so basically, okay, it's my position that all these Jews, Christians, and Muslims are hypocrites, and the Quran actually calls out these hypocrites. There is a chapter devoted to hypocrites, and there is a verse that says hypocrites are cursed by God, whose destination is hell. And it's so easy to prove that Christians are hypocrites, and Jews who refuse to call out Christian idolatry are hypocrites, and ditto these Muslims who actually have it in their Quran, they are commanded by Allah in the Quran to admonish those who claim that God has begotten a son, i.e. they are commanded to admonish Christians. And they haven't. They haven't done it for centuries. In fact, the last time they were supposed to have done it was in Muhammadan times, when Muhammad himself did it in 632. And what happened was, well, he wrote them letters and then called them out for, this Jesus, you think he's divine? And they said yes. And Muhammad said, well, pay us the jizya. And they said, okay. And that was how it was settled. There's a Wikipedia entry on it, the event of the Mubahala.
God, why on earth did these people drag us into all this shit? I shouldn't even have to be talking about this stuff.
But Vincent, don't be so annoyed, because this is key to setting aright the path of America. I mean, you don't think things are going right in America, do you? You want to fix things, don't you?
Well,
Or you want to be... Why are you even hesitating?
Well, because I don't necessarily know that banning usury, having a one-party state, and enacting slavery are like really going to fix everything.
Okay, well, you can talk about it and examine all the arguments for and against my proposal, which is backed by the Quran and history. And that would at least be one step further than what the other YouTubers of the dissident right are doing.
Emo Monk, he blocked you on Telegram?
Yeah, because because he's actually read the Quran, But he just prefers airy fairy hocus pocus mumbo jumbo. That's my problem with him. He just loves all this metaphysical crap because he wants to meditate. And oh yes, he chose Buddhism because it gives him the excuse to meditate his life away. And he probably doesn't even want to become a married father because what he does and what he says would put off any rational woman who wants to be a mother of married children.
Yeah, I think women are less impressed by. I don't think women are very unless it's like unless she's a religious woman and you're a Christian or a Muslim. Christian and Muslim religiosity is a little bit different than mystical religiosity. I don't think that most women take that into much account. Like, oh, he's into like, esoteric metaphysics. Like, to me, okay, I don't like when people are like, oh, women are so irrational. To me, women are much more practical and much more down to earth. And like, I actually, one of the reasons why I think I follow so many women that I listen to is because they're not all highfalutin and like up in the air with these like extraordinary, mystical, magical doctrines. I think the thing is that I think women were evolved to take care of children and take
They have to
care
be
of the
practical, and they have to
yes.
think, is this man who's going to father my children if I marry him going to give me be able to provide and protect me and the children? And if he's not, well, why should I bother with him? I'm going to move on until I find you know a provider and protector.
Yeah, no, I mean there is the thing is who are the sexy ones, the meaty, dumb guys that are just like, boo, they're the ones that are sexy and everyone wants to fuck and all the girls want to fuck. And if you're like a guy that's like really highly intellectual and highfalutin and that's not considered like, I mean, I know there's girls that find that sexy. I know that there are, and I know that, but if you're kind of like a more like highly refined, like, high wine, like less people are going to want you, less people are going to buy you. I mean, it's, people want like, it's kind of like, people want the hamburger and the French fries. They don't want, the delicate salad, you know what I mean? And like, I
They
don't
don't want
know.
haute cuisine and yeah,
Yeah,
or
they,
nouveau cuisine that looks so pretty on the plate, but is only a mouthful.
yeah,
That
like,
costs so much money. But
exactly.
I'm so glad you mentioned women because basically, the whole idea of monogamy is that, okay, it doesn't matter if you're really sexy, male or female, you can only choose one spouse and you're supposed to stick with them. And it's like, oh, but don't worry, sexy men and sexy women. You at least will be able to have a wider choice of spouse than the not so sexy men and women, but you're all supposed to only choose once. So mind that you choose carefully, or your lives will be a misery.
No, but nobody's going to choose. If you say you cannot have sex before marriage, everyone will get married at 18, and then nobody will have time to make a choice. Nobody's going to wait. No person, if they cannot have extramarital sex, is going to wait until they're 30 to get married. Nobody. That would never happen. It's impossible. I told you. You keep bringing this up, and I keep bringing up the culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're all in trouble because they all married at 18 years old, and then they don't even know who the fuck they are. They don't know who their spouse is. People change. I'm not the same person I was when I was 18 years old. If I had gotten married at 18 years old, I would have been in big trouble. I mean, it just wouldn't have been, a good thing. And yeah, I mean,
Okay,
you want,
but okay, so women, I mean, women can marry at 18 because it's not such a big deal. It's like, yeah, yeah, just make sure okay, they can marry. I mean, I guess a woman is sort of marriageable up until the age of 30 or so. And, obviously, after 35, that they're not going to get, very good husbands. Right? I mean, and of course, the purpose of marriage should be for legitimate children. So I think Aristotle, yes, it was Aristotle who worked up a formula for um, the difference, when a man and a woman should marry. I think it's 18 and 33. Are you aware of that?
No, but I mean, I do understand that, and I do think, and under natural circumstances, yes, all the older men with all the money and the power and the wealth and everything would marry up all the young girls in polygamy and in the ancient times, and that's just the way it would be. And I've told, I don't, I find it so disgusting. There's this new movement in both the left and the right to demonize intergenerational relationships, but you see, it disgusts me. All these young white men that like kill older men over 40 who date 20-year-olds, because and then they post these memes and they're making it absolutely clear why they're like, I don't feel like competing with someone who has a job and like $40 million. Like, that's who should be marrying the young girls, someone who's been tested by time, somebody who has eugenic value is shown. They didn't go insane at 25, they didn't go drunk by 30. They had a good job their whole life, and now they're 35 or 40 years old and have a house, a car, millions of dollars, have proven a track record of being a steady, healthy human being. Yes, they should be marrying the 18-year-olds, not some 18-year-old guy. Nobody knows him from shit. Nobody knows if he's going to have schizophrenia. Nobody knows how good he's going to do on his job. Is he going to be tempted by alcohol? Is this, is that? You know what I mean? It's not, it's a less eugenic system where the man is the same age as the girl.
Yeah, but nobody is saying that okay, men have to. You've heard of you are aware of the concept of sublimation, aren't you?
What is that? I know I kind of know what that is, but what is it?
So instead of having lots of sex, you use the energy that you might have expended in having sex or looking for sex partners and put it into your career.
Well,
And
yes, but
in
I
this
mean,
way,
okay, yes, I know, but this
benefit
thing that
society.
this idea that everyone who's celibate, has great powers of concentration, and everyone who fucks all the time has poor powers of concentration is totally bullshit. I mean, there's plenty of people.
What about in sportsmen, football players and people? They're not supposed to have sex a night before a big match, are they?
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true, and if they all do that, and I don't believe that all the people doing good are all celibates, and the people that are all doing bad are all sex whores. Like, I don't believe
Well,
that.
look at Western society and the free love that they enjoy. Look at what has become of your civilization, Vincent. I don't know how you can even think of denying it.
Well, it's. I think it has been. Look, people are like kind of like people are living like the world has been perfected or close to perfected when it hasn't been. So if under what I'm proposing, what would happen is that everyone would be well born, so everyone would be attractive, everyone would be valuable, everyone would be desired, and there would be polygamy. So basically, you wouldn't have to spend any time looking for sex. You could just have it with anyone. You know what I mean? Because it's not like, what stops me from having sex 99.99999% of the time is because they're not attracted to the person, or they're not attractive, or or whatever, or they're just not a valuable human being. And I'm saying that if everyone were a valuable human being, we sex would come much easier, and it would be less. The thing is that, like, I think the problem is that the society is not set up for sex. So yes, you have to spend a lot of time hunting for sex and looking for sex, and then there's lots of frustration, and you can't get it, or you can't get what you want, and all this other kind of stuff. If those things were alleviated, it would be fine. But I've already agreed with you that heterosexuals cannot live in a sexually liberated society. They just can't. That's why they're the problem. No, heterosexuals can't have access to birth control because if they do, they'll have two kids, and then people who don't use birth control will take them over. I mean, like, I've already agreed with you that if we just leave everything the way it is without any genetic engineering, selective breeding, or anything, no, no, the human race can't live in freedom. That's why you need to actually breed for that. You need to breed for liberalism. You can't. You need to breed for liberalism.
Okay, Vincent, how about I do this deal with you? You want your Beyondist experiment, don't you? You want to at least try it out.
Well, I want to set up the foundations for it. Yes, whether or not I'm actually.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not expecting to do it in my lifetime. I'm expecting to, like, if I leave behind like a program, like, then I'll be. I'm just looking to leave something behind, Claire. I'm not looking to take over the whole world in my lifetime. I'm looking to leave something behind, some kind of like breeding system. I mean, I told you what the fucking Carol Bell is at, 800 babies born to her anti-medical cult, no doctors. You know what I mean? People dying. If she could do that, then why can't I do what I'm trying to propose?
Okay, so you want to leave some kind of legacy, some idea, some breeding program, as you say.
Yes.
And I'm saying, if you become the first gay American secular Quranist, you would have the notoriety and fame to be able to say, hey, this is what I want to do, fellow Americans. Come and join me. Sign up. We're not going to get famous doing this, are we?
No, but that's because our
You're
idea.
not
Look,
going to get
look, no,
famous
look,
doing
Claire.
this,
Now,
are
Claire,
you?
you don't seem to understand. You have the same problem that my friend TBR is popular. Millennial Woes is popular for a reason because it's mediocre bullshit. Like
I
there's
am going
no.
to be challenging them.
I know, but
I
Claire, you're
will
not.
be challenging them
But I
and
know, but they're
calling
too
them
dumb
out.
to care. They're too dumb to care that they're called out. They're too ignoble to care that they're called out. They're too stupid to even understand that they're wrong. So it's like, but the thing is that you're never.
Yeah, and
I'm
I'm
not.
going to be calling out Jews too. I'm going to be
Okay,
calling out
but you're never
Orthodox
going to be
rabbis.
popular, Claire. I'm not like my friend got mad at me because I'm not willing to like change myself to become like some popular writer, and he doesn't understand. I'd have to change my message. I'd have to change everything about me in order to become popular. I wouldn't be able to be who I am and be popular.
Well, you can do it with
No, I'm
me.
not. But that's
I'm
not
not
me
asking you to
anymore.
change your message. In fact, I'm saying that if you became famous through being the first gay American secular Quranist, you can also be saying, I'm still a Beyondist. And if you like my program, sign up and we'll see where we can take it.
Oh God, Claire.
I don't think you want even that. You just want to complain like all the
No,
others.
I'm not just complaining. I never. Can I please? Um, I don't because I put the eggs in there. Well, it was open. Um, no, I do more than complain. I create like systems in order to try to counter this.
Okay, well, I actually want to make sure that my message is received loud and clear.
Well, I think my message is received loud and clear. It's just not liked.
But I have a few ideas about getting ourselves, well, getting hurt. And you could be very helpful in that you are A, white, B, American, C, gay. And have
Okay,
a
The best you're
So
going to get out of me is for me to say that there's some good ideas from the Quran that I don't mind stealing, but you're never going to get me on board with a one party theocracy, slavery, no usury, whipping unmarried mothers, no fault divorce. I mean, these are all things you're never going to, that's the crux of secular Quranism.
yeah, because I'm not going to. I mean, those items are non-negotiable. But you could um, say you are protecting your community by becoming a secular Quranist and saying you're going to make sure that the legislation will respect the rights of non-parents who do not have sex in public and commit public indecency offences. You will be protecting the rights of people like that. Non-parents living together who do not commit public indecency offences. And you're going to be protecting the rights of these people.
Okay, yes, but I'd have to tell them they can't get married, they have to give that up, they can't
But
adopt.
then they can form domestic partnerships.
Okay, yeah, but they're if that's not enough. They want equal. They want the same because they don't want to feel as though that they're any less or any less qualified. And also, there would be no adoption, so they couldn't adopt. Um, so that's true. And then they couldn't. They would have to hide. They would have to hide their gay bars behind fake names and couldn't put. They couldn't be known to the public street front that it was a gay bar. It would have to be hidden. So, I mean, these are things that, I'm not willing to explain to them.
Really, you don't want to. I mean, everybody has to make sacrifices. I mean, I'm asking, non-parents to take a lower position to married parents. But surely we can all agree, whether we want to become married parents or not, that it would be better for the next generation if they were brought up by their biological married parents, living together in a loving relationship. I
No,
mean, we can
that's not,
agree
well,
on that, can't we?
I know, but you can't enforce a loving relationships. I don't think you should say loving. I think you should just say two biological parents because that doesn't necessitate love. Um,
Okay, but I mean that is the ideal. Of course, you can't command, um, couples who hate each other to love each other, but it's like, well, you can put up a pretext of being happy for the sake of the children, can't you? Or at least not be
well,
swearing or
obviously it
hitting
wasn't.
them.
It wasn't possible. It obviously wasn't possible because it collapsed. It collapses anywhere that anytime anyone gets a chance to escape it. It collapses. I mean, it's just, it's like, you know, it's like bulls that keep escaping the fence because the fence is never strong enough. I mean, it's just your system is just like you build this fence and it's kind of flimsy, and the bulls are like breaking at it, and then they break out, and then you just bring all the bulls back and rebuild the fence, and then they break out again, and it's just like I told you, it's this constant back and forth with you. Just
Well,
like
that's why you need laws, and that's why you
yeah,
need
but
to be
people will
enforcing
change
them.
people will change the laws once they have the power. We changed the laws about abortion until recently. We changed the laws about gay marriage. We changed the laws
So
about
are
divorce.
you
We've
okay?
changed
And
the
that, yes, and you've changed the law to facilitate free love and to promote it. And look where this has got you.
well, it could be a transition phase. I mean, if people don't listen to me, then yes, it will collapse. If they listen to me, then this is just a transition phase into a new form of human evolution. Okay, like it's like okay, let's say I was willing to work with heterosexuals. If liberals would say, you know what, we want to take over the world, and the only way to do that is to breed ourselves in large numbers, then everything would be fine. Liberals aren't going to do that because they're women and they're straight, and the gay men who are involved with them are dumb, so they're not going to do that. You know what I mean? There's just no way that's going to happen.
I mean, are you just saying that, a liberal is just a person who wants to have sex with people, not their husband, their spouse?
Well, and also, I mean, there's sexual liberality, there's religious liberality, philosophical liberality. There's lots of things. I mean, sex isn't the only thing. I mean, there's there's other kinds of things, and or just hyper rationalism, and and attacking anything that seems to offend the human intellect, rather than just like accepting it and saying, well, God knows better than I do, and I just don't understand.
Well, I think you can understand that religions that you have heard of, i.e., the five world religions, reinforce the practice of marriage, which the ancients long, long ago have worked out is the only way of perpetuating the existence of your group.
Well, it
So
might
you
not be
can't
the
do
only
without
way.
it.
It might be the only way, and we didn't have the technology back then to do what we can do now. We have technology now, and so, I mean, we don't necessarily, there's lots of things we don't do it the old way anymore, and the new way is better. There are things where the new way is better. New medicine is better than old medicine. Okay, like there's certain things. You could say, well, the old medicine worked. It worked, didn't it? Well, it didn't work as well, or it made you sick too, or people didn't want to take it, or it tasted bad, or whatever the problem was with it. You know what I mean? That's like your whole thing is like, this food doesn't taste good, but it gives you nutrition. That's it's just like you can survive on it. And like people want to do more than survive, and yeah, they want tasty food, and they want to actually like wake up and be interested in eating their breakfast, rather than it being like, oh God, I have to eat this gruel and it tastes like shit, and I don't want to eat it. And to the point that people would rather be dead than do it that way. And when people would rather be dead, then they fight back. That's why divorce was overrun in this country, because people would rather be dead than stay in their marriages. And that, when you'd rather be dead, then you just give up. Like, that's why everyone's like, why are you so, people are always like, you're so like a pit bull. You know what I mean? You just can't like tolerate anything, because I'd rather be dead than keep things the way they are. Like, I'm very motivated because I have a very high suicide impulse. You know what I mean? It's just like, it makes me so outrageously unhappy that I have to do something about it. There's just no way that I cannot not do something about it. Like, I have to rebel. It's like putting fire on me. You know what I mean? Of course I'm going to react. And you know what I mean? That's what happens under your system. People become so suicidal. They don't care anymore. They'll burn their house down with their husband in it, because they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you can only push people so far, Claire.
So really, all these moral systems are about keeping the group in existence and apart from others, and they just have to be fair enough, and then there will be no rebellion or fewer rebellions and under a more unfair system.
Okay, but there are rebellions. Even in the Islamic world, there was rebellions.
Okay, nobody's saying that it'll be perfect. We're just identifying the problems and saying certain rules will be perceived to be fairer than other systems.
I'm just saying, find a system that doesn't fight what humans really want and what makes them happy. And
Yes, and it has to be flexible but strong enough to keep things to keep moral order, to keep moral and social order. And I'm saying there is no official moral system in the West at all.
no,
And that is a problem. So even if
except,
you
I mean, we
don't
have the
like secular
Constitution.
Quranism,
We,
let's have it. And then, if you can find anything better after that, well, by all means replace it. But at least admit what the problem is. You have a moral system that doesn't support marriage, which means it is fundamentally dysgenic. And if you keep leaving it, more dysgenics will occur, making the problem harder to solve. So every passing day that this problem is ignored, denied, not addressed, the problem gets worse.
I mean, well, but the big problem, the big problem is fucking dumb bitches who get married, who get knocked up without being married or without having any support,
So they have
and
to be punished.
and not aborting the baby. I mean, like if I were a woman who went out and got pregnant and I had no way to take care of my child, I would abort it. Like I would just abort it. I would say that it's better for this child to never have been born than, for me to bring it up in a single parent household and with no money.
So you need to be slut shaming, yes?
Well, I mean, look, your system is what is necessary if the world remains heterosexual. And I think that I mean, I just, and you just have to like, blame heterosexuals. And I think you just need to tell these liberal women to be like, look, when you get feminism and birth control, you just go crazy, and you stop having children, or you have them out of, in single parent households. That's too difficult. You know what I mean? Like I think, okay, I'm not blaming single women. I say that a 2-parent household is too difficult to raise children, and I approve of communal child rearing. I'm saying even with a man and a woman, it's too much. Even then, they get stressed out and unhappy, and so, one is worse. I mean, if 2 is bad, then 1 is even worse. And
what is even worse?
One parent is even worse. If
Okay,
2 is,
so you want to eliminate or discourage fatherless homes, yes?
well, it would, okay, let's say that these women could go out and get pregnant, but they lived communally and they raised their children in a communal setting, and there were, father figures involved and stuff. That would be fine. That would work. I mean, if there were like some kind of like monastery you could go to as like, and drop your child off at, or, and I know you're like, oh, well, it'll be abused. But this is also not like, 3,000 years ago where things were different and you dropped children off at monasteries and they were like forced into prostitution. These would be more like kind of like modern liberal, you know, homes based on voluntarism rather than like slavery. You know what I mean? You're not selling the child into slavery anymore. You're, putting it into a liberal home with modern liberal values and a modern liberal government that's going to take it out if it's getting, abused. There's different, and there's also now there's actually, a sense of what child abuse is. There was really no such thing as child abuse, thousands of years ago. And there was no like concept of it. And these things would be, if humans could behave that way, but heterosexuals are not really programmed to, I think, behave like that, especially not heterosexual men. I think women would be more likely to go for something where it was like a monastic child rearing type of organization. I think they would be more like, because it would work out better for them. But, the man, he wants his woman to himself, and, he, thinks that he can raise the children in his own household, and he thinks that he's like, worthy. The thing is that when I have children, I do want to raise them communally because, I see myself and I have a lot of deficiencies. And I know that if I was raising them on my own, that I wouldn't give them the best life. And I know that there would be deficiencies in my personality that I wouldn't be able to raise them perfectly. And it would warp them. So if there were other people there to mitigate me, like, let's say, okay, like, I would, okay, so I have my children, we have a communal setting. So let's say that I have an apartment building, and on the first 2 floors is where like all the children are housed, and on the floors above is where all the parents live. I could like go downstairs and spend time with them and take them out and go places with them, and if I had to, I could discipline them a little bit and all this other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day,
you don't want to live with your own children. How you going to leave your poor children to be lord of the fly situation on the first and second floor?
That's not. No, there would be people there. There would be attendants there taking care of the children. And I do think that
But they
when
wouldn't be committed. It's only
yeah,
you
I
and
would be
your
paying.
wife who
I would
will
be
care about your kid.
no, I would
Other
be
people
paying
will not
them.
care
I
about
would
your
be
kid
I would be I
unless
would
they
be
were paid to do so.
yeah, I'm paying them. They are being paid to do so. They are being paid to do so. Yes, I would have to pay a fee for all of this. You know what I mean? I'd have to pay fees for all of this, but it would be, it would be less stressful on me, and it would be less stressful on the children, because if I felt that I was about to blow up and scream at them and start hitting them, I could bring them downstairs. Um, you know what I mean? And
Do
and
you
also
like children?
what?
Do you like children?
I don't dislike them. I don't dislike children. Yes, I mean, to a degree, I do. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't
I mean,
know. That's
okay, if you were to visit someone's home and there are children there, would you just talk to the adults or would you just ignore the children? I mean, there are some adults who just, oh, the children there, I'm going to play with them and blah blah blah. I mean, are you that sort of adult, or would you just, stay with the adults and talk adult talk?
no. I don't
What
think I
kind of
would.
adult are you? Do you actually like children because they are children? Or are you the sort of adult who thinks, well, I'll put up with children if they're mine, but if they're anybody else's, yuck.
No, I never say yuck to children, and like maybe I don't. Okay, like individual children, I don't go up to and start playing with them, but I care about the welfare of children generally, and
Oh, so do I. So do I. But we don't have to have a hands-on approach and, work in a creche or something to show that we care about the next generation. We can just be saying that it would be better for the next generation if they were brought up by their two biological married parents living together in a loving relationship. That's not hard to say. It doesn't mean that we're going to be playing with them or having them in our homes. We can just say this thing that has become so controversial.
well,
And
look,
we'll be
the
going
thing
on.
is that you don't. The thing is that okay, if I had children, I would want my personality to be mitigated by, other people a little bit. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
why you have another parent who will, maybe act as
that's
a
not
kind of
enough.
court of appeal.
That's not enough. That's not.
Okay, then you would have a kind of extended family. That was how it worked in the old days. Like, oh, you might talk to your brother if one of your kids was, being a bit of a problem, or your sister, or your parents, or, so you would have, I mean, extended families would be the support group for the nuclear family. And that's why marriage and the institutions of marriage and the family are so important.
Well, yes, in the heterosexual system, they are. And, there's only really one way. There's, well, I mean, there's more than one way to run a heterosexual system. You can have polygamy where there's one man on top and he has all the women. The other way is through, monogamy and extended families and, stuff like that. And, I'm worried about my bird. I want to make sure that they're eating.
Or the canaries.
Yeah, because we got them new food. I want to make sure that they're eating. I did see some of them eating, but um, I haven't been seeing them eating as much as they used to.
Why did you buy them a different brand of food?
Well, because the food they weren't like eating it fully. There was tons of seeds left in the debris bin underneath, and I don't know. I just want to make sure. Go eat, sweetie. Yo, yes, go eat, go eat. Show me you're eating. Show me you're eating. You eat so much, and now you're not eating. Um, um, well, if everything stays the way, then you might win, Claire, because these heterosexuals are not capable of maintaining a liberal order. They're not. It'll collapse.
Well,
It
that's
will.
why all the religions of the world support marriage to prevent
Yeah.
just the
Well,
situation that is happening now. Free
none of
love
them
is,
had
is winning.
none of them had the technology that we do. Nor did any of them have. Okay, like in this day and age, homosexuals still don't make up the general large part of the population, but because of social networking and social internet and stuff like that, we can have a lot more influence. The idea is that now it's more likely for people to even think of something like um, surrogacy programs and collective child rearing and artificial wombs and these different kinds of things. It's a new era. There's new options out there. And I mean, you're just saying, oh, it's not going to work. Well, the whole world doesn't need to start doing this tomorrow. I mean, it could start with 5 people, and it's not really going to kill the world if 5 people, if 5 gay men or 6 gay men say, okay, we're going to start a surrogacy breeding program and get an apartment and start having children. The world's not going to collapse. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then, it didn't work. But,
Fine,
it,
fine. You can promote secular Quranism with beyondist characteristics.
no, but what about, gay men getting an apartment building and doing surrogacy and having children and raising them collectively? What about that, Claire?
Well, if you can find enough of them to make it viable, good luck to you. But I'm sure a lot of gay men will say, why are you putting this burden on us? You know,
Lots
we're
of gay men
gay. We
want children.
don't want to be
No,
parents. Leave us alone,
lots,
Vincent.
lots of gay people want to be parents, and I'm not forcing anyone. I'm not going and dragging anyone in. This is for people who want. This is for people who want to be parents. I'm not going to be discussing this with people who say they don't want kids. I'm not going to be, you know,
You
goading them
don't
into
even
it.
know one. Do you know any gay parents?
I know them online, but I don't know. Well, this has been around for how long have there been gay parents around for? Not that long. I mean,
Why
you
aren't they
know,
on your? Why aren't you interviewing them on your channel?
I can't interview anyone on my channel, gay or not. I mean, the only people that'll come up on my channel are weird, deranged, right-wing assholes that really don't give a shit. I mean, I can't get, gay or not, I couldn't get a normie straight person on my channel either. Dude, I can't go out and get some like father of four married to his wife who isn't involved in radical politics to come on my channel. None of them want to talk to me.
Okay, but maybe you will become respectable when you've become the first gay American secular Quranist.
Okay, you're a secular Quranist and you get blocked as much as I do from entering all these groups. So why would I get any more, like,
Yeah, because
steam?
I think the Muslims will just be your biggest fan.
Why aren't they your biggest fan and call secular Quranism tranny Islam?
Well, who calls it that? It's not a
I
Muslim.
Yes, he was. It was his name is Ahmed or whatever his name is, and your secular Quranist. He said people want real Islam, not tranny Islam.
Who are you talking about again?
Some Muslim in your secular Quranist group. I forget his name. He was a Muslim, and he said that people don't want. They want real Islam. They don't want tranny Islam.
Wasn't that in the Cube or something?
No, it was in your secular Quranist group chat on Telegram.
Okay, I'll have a look. And okay, Telegram users are anonymous, so they might just be pretending to be, secular. Anyway, people in the secular Quranism group are not necessarily secular Quranists. They're just
Well,
people
no,
who come to
obviously
throw
he
rocks at me.
wasn't. But I mean, the fact that you do talk about like Sharia compliant gay sex shows, so people are going to think it's tranny Islam. You know what I mean? Like,
No. I'm basically saying in the context of um, um, these sex shows, they would be in licensed brothels, obviously.
yes, well, I mean, this is just not some. Yes, I think that most Muslims, if you're talking about Sharia compliant gay sex shows, are going to call you a tranny Muslim. You know what I mean? Yes, I think that that's a proper. Maybe it's okay. They've taken it a step further. Instead of calling it gay Islam, they've called it tranny Islam. But I mean, well, you're the one who said that the Quran doesn't say anything about transvestism, so you wouldn't outlaw it because it's not in the Quran.
Or people will just be treated as freaks or treated as freaks
Okay, but
and
it
not be
would. I
taken
mean,
seriously.
okay, well, you could still walk around as a tranny. You can't do that under Noahide law.
It,
Oh wait, no, wait. I don't know if you can do that under. It would depend. It would.
well, actually, the Jews are quite strict about that. They even
Yes,
say that men and women are not allowed to wear each other's clothes.
yes, exactly. But I don't know if that applies to Gentiles. I don't know if that applies to Gentiles because Michael Dallin says it doesn't. I've seen websites, Noahide websites that do include it.
Do you remember Dubit saying that all these rabbis who promote the Noahide laws have no authority to do so, and they are basically rabbis who have failed
and
within
and
their
who
own
and who's the
communities.
fuck
That's why they're forced to deal with Gentiles.
and who the fuck is Duvid, who's a practicing Hindu, who is who has who is he to poo poo rabbis who actually have like high degrees in yeshiva and congregations and and the support of the Israeli government, no less. So who is he?
Well, the government of Israel is a secular government.
That promotes Noahide law.
So it's sort of like saying, oh, it's a tranny promoting family values. So you can't, that information alone should tell you to take whatever they say with a huge pinch of salt.
Okay, well, I think you're taking that a little bit far, with the tranny and the family values, because I mean, a rabbi is not a tranny. A rabbi is following his values and following his convictions, and he's totally within his right to preach the Noahide laws to the Gentiles because there's no need for a Jewish government for the Noahides to impose the Noahide laws upon themselves. There's no need for a Jewish government. You don't need a Jewish government.
No, they don't. But the point is that the Noahide laws come from the Talmud, and at some point, the Gentile will have to be asking a rabbi what it all means. So they will be.
Wait, but not necessarily, no, because the point is that the Talmud, the part of the Talmud which deals with the Noahide laws, is open to Gentiles to read, and they are supposed to read it whether a Jew teaches them or not. So there's not necessarily a Jew that needs there to be teaching you. You are under obligation to go and get a Talmud and read that section yourself.
Okay, well, where can you get your friendly neighborhood Talmud in your? I mean, is it on Amazon? Where would you get that? I mean,
What, a Talmud? A Talmud?
Yeah, I mean,
You can get them
okay, so how are you going to
online.
get it? How
You
are you
get
going
them
to get a
online.
copy of the Talmud
They're
on Amazon?
online. You can get them online. There's online Talmuds. And I mean, you wouldn't
Okay,
get
well,
the whole.
did you want to give me a link to this online Talmud about the 7 Noahide laws that is
It's
accessible
just
for
just
free?
read Sanhedrin 56a to 57b. Look it up anywhere online. Look, there's the 1961 Sonsino Babylonian Talmud. It's free online on like come-n-here.com has the 1961 Babylonian Talmud for free.
So 57A, yes?
56a to 57b. And beyond that, but I don't know where it ends, but I know the actual like the meat of it ends at 57b. I know there's like trailing nonsense after that, but
Okay, so I'm
and
looking at the William Davidson Talmud. Yes, and you say 56A.
to
So it
57b.
begins at 56B.
No, 56a to 57b.
Okay, so 56A says, on every day of a blasphemer's trial, when the judges judge the witnesses, i.e., interrogate the witness, they ask the witness to use an appellation for the name of God so they do not utter a curse of God's name. Specifically, the witness would say, let Yosai smite Yosai, as the name Yosai has 4 letters in Hebrew, as does the Tetragrammaton. When the judgment is over and the court votes to deem the defendant guilty, they do not sentence him to death based on the testimony of the witnesses, in which they use an appellation for the name of God, without having ever heard the exact wording of the curse. Rather, they remove all the people who are not required to be there from the court, so that the curse is not heard publicly, and the judges interrogate the eldest of the witnesses and say to him, "Say what you heard explicitly," and he says exactly what he heard, and the judges stand on their feet and make a tear in their garments as an act of mourning for the desecration of the honor of God, and they do not ever fully stitch it back together again.
Wait, can you just make sure that you're just copy search Noah Hyde to make sure you're on the right thing?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it makes much sense. So I'm going.
No, well, you haven't gotten to the part that talks about that. Hold on, let me send you the. I'll send you the link with the link. Hold on.
Because it doesn't seem to be about the okay. It's about swearing. So I guess
I know the beginning of it doesn't have to do with the Noah Hyde laws, but hold on. (56A). Here, I'm sending it to you, and
in the private chat.
Yeah, this is yes, and I'm sending it to you in Telegram. I'm sending you 56A, and then you can scroll to 56B, and 57A and B. Just do copy search Noah, and it's very simple. If you practice idolatry, blasphemy, homosexuality, this or that, you're decapitated. I mean, it's not like that difficult, to understand. And then, you would have Maimonides in order to explain to you what is idolatry. What is idolatry? What actually do you have to do in order to be executed for idolatry? And Maimonides is open to you. Maimonides is not a closed book. The only thing that's a closed book really is the Talmud, except for these parts that actually have to do with you. And if it has to do with you, you're commanded to read it anyway. Whether a Jew taught you this or not, you're commanded to read it.
Okay, but basically, it's really not good enough, is it?
And secular Quranism is, with its 5 laws?
Yes, because it's based on the Quran.
Well, I don't see how the
Okay, anyway, I'm going to read this thing, but it's like, well, what it's all such a mess.
It's not a mess. It's a very simple structure that
why don't you read from the text that you have just sent me on that web page? You read it in a way that makes sense for us.
Okay, what is taught by the expression any man, the inclusion of heathens to whom blasphemy is prohibited, just as to Israelites, and they are executed by decapitation. For every death penalty decreed for the sons of Noah is only by decapitation. So, and then, Claire, it's the 7 laws.
You can't even make sense of it yourself.
That makes it, this includes, yes,
the link.
How is that hard to understand that you decapitate blasphemers? How is that hard to understand?
Okay, okay. I thought you were going to read for us the 7 laws.
They're in here. I don't want to read 4 pages of text, but this is
okay. Where does it even begin in Folio 56A? Where does it even begin?
I just read it. Just type Noah. I just sent it to you. So type in Control F Noah. Okay, if he uses the ineffable name, he's put to death. Heathens are decapitated. Okay, here it is. Our rabbis taught 7 precepts where the sons of Noah commanded social laws to refrain from blasphemy, idolatry, adultery, bloodshed, robbery, and eating flesh cut from a living animal. It's at the very bottom. But it talks about decapitations for blasphemy above.
Okay, so you're expecting your fellow Americans to agree to abolish the First Amendment and substitute it with decapitations for blasphemy.
Well, not right
That's what
away,
you're expecting us to believe.
not tomorrow. This isn't happening tomorrow. This is more of like a slow evolutionary plan. This is
Okay, so
like,
maybe if you introduce secular Quranism to your fellow Americans, one day they might find this idea attractive, but you can't, put it all on them at the same time.
well, I would rather just the rabbis do the work for me and let them spread their Noahide laws slowly, and then instead of going from I'm not putting my energy into secular Quranism that might lead into Islam only because there's a tiny chance it'll become Noahide when I have so much more chance of it becoming Noahide if I just allow the rabbis to do what they want to do and I talk about the Noahide laws. I'm not putting extra energy into something that's going to bring about Islam.
But don't you think secular Quranism is more likely to protect people like you?
Yeah, but I don't look. I want the Noahide laws to start getting big, so gay people are like, oh my god, we have to stop this. I don't want something that's like, oh hi, we're so happy with gay people, we're gay friendly Muslims, and everything's gonna be fine. And like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want gay people to be like, oh yay, Islam. I don't want that.
Okay, but so what you're saying is you don't expect any of this to take place within your lifetime. So how are you
No.
going to um leave behind your legacy
Well,
if none of this is supposed to take place within your lifetime?
I'm leaving behind the legacy for the Beyondism and the breeding programs and all this other kind of stuff. But I'm not going.
Are you going to be writing books and
Well, I
publishing them
write.
on Amazon?
No, well, I have my blogs. These days people don't read books. But the 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 point is that within my lifetime, people could start getting scared of the Noahide laws. I mean, within my lifetime, could there be like
Only the
great?
Christians.
No, pagans and gays would be scared of Noahide law too, and so within my lifetime, could I be reaping benefit off of people's fear of the Noahide laws? Yeah, I could. Within my lifetime, I could do that.
Well, I think you're more likely to frighten gay people with secular Quranism. Sorry, well,
No.
anyone, not just gay people, by appearing to take it seriously. And speak of it with conviction, not just as, oh, I'm only pushing the no-hide laws, so gay people get frightened. I mean, they're not gonna get frightened. When you contradict yourself by saying, I don't expect anything to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, the Jews didn't
So
expect
you
anything
won't be
to.
leaving a legacy because you're not being
I will
serious.
be. No,
You're
I
just
will.
being
Look, no,
neurotic.
no, I'm not. The Jews didn't expect for the Noahide laws to take off in their lifetime. They wrote them down, and now 2,000 years later, or whatever it is, 1,600 years later, it's going somewhere. And I don't care if I have
Yeah,
to
but
wait
the
16.
Jews are supported by God. They have
No, they're
divine
not.
providence to
No,
protect
they're
them,
not.
and you are satanic.
No, then, Clara, you're not going to win an argument by telling me I'm satanic and so therefore my plans won't work. I mean, if the Jews took 1,600 years to get done what they want to get done, I don't mind taking 1,600 years either.
But you already know that Jews are
Yeah, well, I
supposedly
think that
God's chosen
no,
people.
well, I don't believe that. And I also do think that there's like, that I do believe in the power of idea, and I'm willing. Why can't I take it? I'm willing to steal from other people's cultures, and one thing I'm willing to steal from the Jews, which you're not willing to steal from the Jews, is patience.
I am very patient.
No, you're not willing to steal patience from the Jews. You're not willing to do a 100-year plan. You want it done in your lifetime. I mean, this was a very long, thought out, very well planned plan, and and
What's wrong with
and
my plan of telling Americans through you that their problem is because they haven't got an official moral system, i.e., they haven't got an official religion? It's actually it's an open goal. Americans can't just say, "Oh, but you're wrong, Claire. We do have a religion, and our official religion is da da." What is it?
No, they don't have an official religion, but
And that's their problem. And they're making the whole world go bad because they control a global empire, and the stupid Europeans just do whatever the Americans tell them to do, including blow themselves up. Now, as I understand it, Vincent, you want to think of yourself as a moral person. Don't you think moral people would be able to speak the truth as they see it and exercise logic, at the very least?
well, that's what I think that I do.
Okay, and your beyondism is about keeping your group in existence using what you believe to be eugenic practices.
Yes,
Okay, so in a way you are trying to be moral, aren't you? You're saying there is
subjectively.
another way of keeping my people in existence other than through traditional marriage. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Or arguing for.
Yes, there's another way to stay in existence besides. Yes.
So you have to prove it, don't you? You can't expect your fellow Americans to say, "Oh, yes, Vincent, well, we should have done it before. You're so right," without having to prove anything at all. And so, but
Yeah, well,
unfortunately,
I'm willing to take the time to prove it. I mean, I'm willing to take the, but it's proof. I have to wait 100 years after I have a breeding program and everyone's been born and it's gone on for a few generations. I can't. I'm not going to be able to just come out and prove everything, and that's why I'm also doing it slowly. I mean, you're like, oh, it's going to collapse all of society. Well, it won't collapse all of society if not everybody is doing it.
okay, I'm doing a deal with you. Well, I mean, it's quite obvious that nothing will happen unless people take you seriously in your lifetime.
No, that's not true. They people didn't take the Jews seriously with the Noahide laws, 1,600 years ago. But they're getting somewhere now, and it's only going up. And I don't mind stealing other people's ways of doing things, and I think the Jews have a very good way of doing things, and I think they were very patient, and they knew that it was best to move slowly with this, and they did, and now they're reaping the rewards. And they Christianity and Islam went out and did all the hard work for them, and now they just seem to say, "Thank you very much, step aside, and we're coming in with the real thing now." Islam was the training wheels. Okay, Islam is the training wheels for Noahidism, and now it's time to take the training wheels off.
Well, it would appear that the success of Judaism is because it was such an attractive idea that the Gentiles stole the scripture of Judaism from the Jews and culturally appropriated the
Yeah, and it
God of
worked for
Israel. I mean that,
which they
but
which they weren't supposed to do.
is anybody wanting to steal your idea?
Well, which they weren't supposed to do, and now God is going to punish them by saying, you know what, you didn't do it the way I wanted you to do it. You stole the scriptures, and you Muslims and Christians, you did it the way you wanted to do it. But now you just fine, be my training wheels. Go do my dirty work for me, and then when I'm done with you, I'll just slit your throat and take everything. Go get all the gold for me. Go to fight all my enemies for me, and that's what Muslims did because they didn't listen to I didn't if God has a timetable, it's the Jewish timetable. I mean, if this monotheistic God does exist, he's on the side of the Jews, and he wanted you to do it his way. And if you don't do it his way, then it's not going to work out well for you, and you're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
going to
In
be.
terms of God thinking, uh, okay, you were talking about God doing it His way. I mean, His way must be uh, Jews and Gentiles following His laws. And aren't we agreed that Jews and Gentiles have not been following His laws properly?
Well, Muslims haven't been following them because they rejected the Noahide laws and created their own thing, and they didn't want to live to that high level of standard, and they're going to pay for it.
Yes, they haven't even been following their own holy book of the Quran. They haven't obeyed chapter 18, verse 4, that commands Muslims to admonish those who claim God has begotten a son. And I say it to them, and it just doesn't register. They don't care. It's as if I was telling Americans that Washington warned them not to have political parties. They kind of sort of say, oh, yeah, and change the subject. So, Americans don't respect Washington, and I guess Muslims don't respect the Quran, and they're going to pay for it, I guess. They're going to get punished.
Well, they're going to get punished because their punishment is that their whole efforts weren't for them, and it was for the Jews, and it was the Noahide laws, and it's all going to play into the Jews' hands for their Noahidist plot. That's the ultimate Muslim punishment, that you didn't work for yourselves, you don't get to keep the rewards of your labor. It goes to the Jews.
Jews can only command Gentiles through their moral authority. And this they can only do by saying,
you don't know how you don't know where the where Israel is going, and is getting closer to a theocracy, and that the conservatives are trying to take over the Supreme Court, so that, or get rid of the Supreme Court so that it can't negate religious bills that are coming out of the Knesset. But but this is also a slow evolution, and we're only starting to see the beginnings of Islam transforming into Noahidism, and it's only starting to become obvious that Islam is going to lead into Noahidism, and but it is moving in that direction, and I do believe that Muslims will lose their empire because of that. If you choose to steal from the Jews, you're going to get in trouble.
But Muslims would say we didn't steal from the Jews because the Quran is actually a revelation from God. How can you prove it isn't? How can you prove it isn't?
How can you prove it is? How can you prove? Because God said that not to add to Torah. And there's verses in the Torah. There's one of the 613 commands is not to add to Torah, and
okay, can you find it for me? Can you take your time to find that verse that says,
yes,
Gentiles do not deserve their own.
No, it doesn't. It says not to add to Torah. It doesn't say Gentiles don't deserve their own revelation. It says not to add to Torah.
Okay, so don't add to Torah.
No adding to written or oral Torah. It is Deuteronomy 13:1.
Deuteronomy 13:1. Let me have a look at mine.
Not 13, to change the 13, Deuteronomy 13:1.
Okay, so it says, worshipping other gods. If a prophet or one who foretells by dreams appears among you and announces to you a miraculous sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder of which he has spoken takes place, and he says, let us follow other gods you have not known, and let us worship them, you must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. The Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. It is the Lord your God who you must follow, and him you must revere. Keep his commands and obey him. Serve him and hold fast to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death because he preached rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. He has tried to turn you from the way the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You must purge the evil from among you.
Yeah, so you can't say that you have a new revelation. You can't say that God has sent me something new, and once the Torah is written, there's no more prophets, and there's absolutely no under Judaism, Gentiles do not have the right to declare for themselves that God spoke to them and gave them a revelation. I mean, if you're going to, if you're,
what I've read does not say that God would not subsequently
okay, but it said not,
reveal better scripture to Gentiles.
no, it didn't say that, but it did talk about new prophets arising. You know, that a new prophet is not going.
Only if these prophets tell them to worship a God, not the Abrahamic God.
No, yes, but this is
Shall I read it
translated.
again? Shall I
This
read it again?
no, don't read it. This is translated by Jews. Look, you cannot come as a prophet after the Torah has been written and say, "I have a new revelation."
Where does it say that?
No, well, you can't do it to other Jews, and that would be applied to Gentiles.
Look, it doesn't
Look,
say.
if you come forward after the Torah has been written and say, "Hey, I have a revelation, follow me," that didn't come from the Torah. It's a new, like a non-extra biblical revelation that you cannot find in Torah. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that no scripture will be revealed. It says, kill any man who tells you, kill any Jew who tells you to worship another God. That's what it says.
Yes, but if they not just another God, if they come also with any kind of new revelation.
Okay, but it doesn't say that in what I've
just written. This is the way it's interpreted, that you cannot add. This is the way Jews interpret it, that one of the things, it's not just another God, it's even just adding to revelation. And this is
okay.
So Rambam clears this up in Mishnah Torah Melachim 10:9, if you can look that up, where the Gentiles are liable to death by having for adding to, or
so I can read it. Can you?
I don't have the here. I'll here. I don't have the exact scripture in front of me, but I have the.
Okay, so what are you saying? Maimonides said.
Okay, Maimonides interpreted this here. I just sent it to you. Let's look if we can look up Mishnah Torah Menachem 9. And Gentiles have no right to give themselves their own. Who the fuck are they?
What is Melachim? Do you know what that means?
I'm looking at, I hate, everything Jewish is so, you read these things and it doesn't say what they say it says, and then they come up with these meanings. A lot of these meanings are just total nonsense. Hold on.
Oh, okay. It says things like, a Gentile who reads the Torah is obligated to die. You know, it says that, don't you?
Okay, wait. A non-Jew who busied himself with Torah is liable with his life. If a non-Jew bruised himself with Torah or made Shabbos or made up something new. Okay, or makes up something new. So this is Rambam, Hilakot, Melachim 10:9. A Gentile who studies the Torah is obligated to die. If a Gentile studies the Torah, makes a Sabbath, or creates a religious practice, they are liable to death.
Okay, so why would any Gentile want to subject himself to Jewish supremacy?
Okay, well, I'm just saying that Maimonides showed how that scripture that you just read is supposed to be interpreted.
Okay, so he says a Gentile who studies the Torah is obligated to die. So I guess die all Christians, right?
And or if they make something up
of their 7 mitzvot.
Or if they make something new. Or if they make up something new. It says that right in the, here, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and it says similarly, a Gentile who rests even on the weekday, observing that day as a Sabbath, is obligated to die.
Right, and if you make yourself
up, I can't believe that you just say, "Oh yeah, okay." Needless to say, he's obligated for that punishment if he creates a festival for himself.
Yeah, it's a Jew.
So I don't know why you're just going to
Okay,
say,
made
yeah,
up
yeah,
something.
yeah, it's
Made
all
up
right.
something
I'm
new.
not going
Okay,
to
okay.
deny.
According to Maimonides, that scripture means that Gentiles cannot make up something new, and he said a non-Jew who makes up something new is liable to the death penalty.
Well, I really think you have to be such an Islamophobe to prefer the Talmud when you already have
No,
the
you could just have
Quran.
higher principles and say no, idolaters do need to be put to death. You can just be more principled than a Muslim who says, "Oh, it's such a horrible, heinous act on the level of murder, but we're just going to accept it." You know what I mean? Like, well, according to Noahide laws, it's just as heinous as murder. Actually, you have to follow the first Noahide law is the most important Noahide law, and you are put to death for it because you can't follow any of the other laws unless you follow the first.
Well, the point is that these Jews cannot find anything in the Torah that says Gentiles don't deserve their own revelation, and Muslims have been saying for quite a while now that, yay, we Gentiles, we've got our own revelation from the same God that revealed the Torah to Jews.
Okay, here, I'm reading, this is Maimonides. The general principle governing these matters is they are not to be allowed to originate a new religion or create mitzvos for themselves based on their own decision. They may either become righteous converts and accept all the mitzvos or retain their status without adding or detracting from them. If a Gentile studies the Torah, makes a Sabbath, or creates a religious practice, a Jewish court should beat him, punish him, and inform him that he is obligated to die, however, he's not executed. So he's beaten and punished, whatever that means. So you are punished. So there could be jail, there could be fines, there could be whatever. But no, I mean, that scripture that you read is interpreted to mean Gentiles are not permitted to even create any new religious system for them or add to mitzvahs. You've added mitzvahs to the Gentiles.
Look, the presumption is that for Jews is that the Quran was just stuff made up by Muhammad.
It was.
Muslims, why are you so certain? Were you there?
Well, why are you so certain that it was? And it just doesn't make sense.
I'm only
It
telling you
doesn't.
that
It doesn't make
Muslims
sense.
believe the
It
Quran to be
well.
the
It
final revelation from God.
well. What doesn't make sense is that God gave the Jews the right to create something to teach the Gentiles. They did it, and then the Muslims said, "Oh, sorry, we're not up for this. We're creating something that's a lower version of what you gave us." I mean, they told them what the Jews, you didn't make it low enough for us. Okay, you didn't make it lowly enough for us. We need something a little bit easier than your diluted Judaism. I mean, you have 613 and all you gave us was 7 and we're not capable of upholding that. You know what I mean? Like that sounds like almost like the devil did it. Like, and that's why, if you do believe in God, you would believe in the rabbis to say that Islam is just going to lead to Noahidism because they're basically being punished for not adopting the Noahide laws. So good, you did all this work you did all this work, you got rid of all this idolatry, and now it's just time to step aside. Thank you very much, and we can dispense with your fucking fake revelation.
But any logical person would see,
Not logical,
not
don't say.
able to argue against the fact that the Quran is supposed to be from God and the Talmud is only from mortal and
Yeah,
fallible rabbis, and therefore
yeah, they
they're
were supposed
supposed
to because Claire, they were given the job to do that in the Torah, and they did it. No, just
No, they
because.
didn't. They
Yes, they
didn't
did.
even declare. They're supposed to rank the four Gentile
No,
religions, and they refuse, which
that's
is evidence
your
of their cowardice and
Claire, you're like the Book of
hypocrisy.
Mormon. You're like the Book of Mormon, where you come up with these new, confangled things that, the Jews were determined to rank the four non-passing Gentile religions, so that Muslims with a failing mark could take over the world. That's nothing. Nobody is going to interpret these things. Nobody's going to say a religion that doesn't meet the Noahide laws is going to take over the world. Or
Well,
should.
Muslims will, and there are 1.9 billion of them.
Yeah, well, the thing is that well, look. I think the West is going to realize that they went too far, and they're going to say, okay, well, I mean, Islam is just not strict enough. It doesn't go far enough. We need, the full McCoy. We need the real thing, and not, you know, not tranny Noahidism. You know what I mean? Like, Islam is tranny
You're
Noahidism.
saying that that Americans are going to go from no
Not
religion to the
immediately, not
no-hide
immediate,
laws?
slowly, not immediately. I don't think in short terms like a Muslim. I think in long term. I'm
Okay,
gonna.
but then you won't be around for us to
So
say,
what?
oh,
The Jews
your
weren't.
predictions
The
didn't
Jews
your
weren't.
prediction didn't come true. But I'm saying it's obviously necessary to begin a journey. Um,
Tama. Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, but Claire, I mean, like, I don't need to. The Jews didn't see, old Jews that wrote the Talmud didn't see the fruition of. Well, they did see some Gentiles converting. They did see Romans in the empire converting to Noahidism, and that probably would have continued. But, um, so what if they didn't see it? I mean, they wrote it down. I mean, somebody has to write it down. It has to, somebody has to be the starter. I mean, not
yes,
everyone can.
either Jews can say, we've got the no-hide laws. We're supposed to rank the four Gentile religions, and
No, they didn't say
Islam's the
not
most
Gentile. No, no,
no-hide. Yeah, but
no,
they're
no,
not
no.
doing it because these
Because that's
rabbis are
not.
hypocrites,
No, they're
right?
not hypocrites because they actually want to follow the real Noahide laws and not just give and find. Well, okay, so I would say that. So the rabbis should say everything is shit, but Islam is the least smelly shit, but it's still shit. And but actually, since Hindus are being nicer to us and not killing us, actually at this rate in time, they're higher. That's what Duvid says. He says that because Muslims are killing Jews, that the Muslims have fallen in Noahide status behind the Hindus.
Yeah, but Duvid's a mamzer, isn't he? He's the lowest status group in Judaism. He's not supposed to have even been born because that's what being a mamzer means. Because he's a product of of mixed parentage. Jews are not supposed to marry Gentiles. His mother married a Gentile, and he was a product, and he's a mamzer. So, um, you know, Jews who are not mamzer would not
Okay,
be
well,
taking anything he
obviously,
says seriously.
obviously, these rabbis that are giving no Hindus no height status, think like that, and
Well,
I don't
actually,
know,
it was
maybe.
Duvet who told you, and you were complaining about him being rude to you afterwards, that these rabbis have no business giving these certificates to
Well, they
Hindus.
are. They are, and Duvid has no business telling rabbis not to do it.
Well, okay, so basically, all these rabbis and these Jews, they just do their own thing and hope they can um, pull wool over the eyes of the Gentile by saying, oh, I'll give you a rabbinical certificate saying that your idolatrous religion is
It's a
not
plan.
idolatry,
It's a
and the
what
Hindu says yay, and the Christians also says yay, because these cowardly rabbis who sell
not.
their
They have a long-term plan. They know they can't just come out and call everyone idolaters. They can't do that. They would
well, I'm
lose.
doing that. I'm doing that.
Well,
So
and you're
that
not
means I'm
getting
higher
anywhere.
status than them.
You're not getting anywhere. They're the ones who are getting somewhere. You have no followers. So they have between 50 and 500,000 followers across the planet.
50, well, no, they don't. These no-hides do not even have a leader unless you're calling John Voight their leader.
Well, neither do Muslims have a leader. Neither do Jews have a leader. Neither do Protestant Christians have a leader.
Well, I guess there will be secular Jews and religious Jews, and basically religious Jews say um, secular Jews are dead to Judaism, and they shouldn't. If the laws of Judaism were being properly enforced, there would be no secular heretical liberal assimilated Jews. They would all be executed.
Yeah, but right at the moment, with there is no leader of the Jews, so they really, to say that nobody has a leader except for the Catholics, and so to say, oh, they have no leader, that doesn't mean anything. It's
Okay,
Christianity has no
it's just
leader.
okay. So everybody is so evil that they don't care about the truth of anything. They just want to somehow make the facts fit their political view and say, "I'm right." So all these people who claim to be Jews, Christians, and Muslims are basically atheists who are using these rules to, well, who are only pretending to follow these rules and don't even believe in God. So I guess if God exists, he'd zap them and zap their civilization and zap the world, because of all these Jews, Christians, and Muslims who are complete hypocrites, who don't want to get to the bottom of things. Well, I guess they're all, full of shit. So these Muslims are just as full of shit as the dissident right YouTubers who don't want to talk about secular Quranism or whether it is a bad thing that the West doesn't have an official religion. And they know that talking about secular Quranism would raise the subject. And actually, they just prefer to blame the Jews for everything that has gone wrong in their stupid civilization. It's nothing to do with them ignoring their own rules. They're going to blame the Jews.
Well, the point is that they had, the point is they had two options: become a Noahide or convert to Judaism, and the Muslims chose neither. So, I mean, they're in big trouble.
So, why do you think that the Quran is inferior to the Talmud
Well,
when the Quran is believed by Muslims to come from God and the Talmud is
well,
admitted
the
by
Talmud is
Jews to only come from mortal and fallible rabbis?
the Talmud is more principled, and it goes along with the Torah better. Where if it's illegal to allow idolatry for Jews, it should also be illegal to allow idolatry for Gentiles.
Okay, but Jews can only execute Gentiles guilty of idolatry and blasphemy if they are a Torah theocracy.
Yes, but
And
outside
so
of
far,
Israel,
they're not interested in becoming a
okay, but
Torah theocracy.
outside of Israel, the Gentiles are in charge of who gets decapitated. And I'm saying, even if it's not in practice, the point is that it makes more sense for God to hate idolatry so much that he wanted people murdered for it, to continue with that tradition rather than to reverse his teachings on idolatry.
So, how likely do you think Gentiles living outside Israel are going to voluntarily start executing
Not
idolaters and
right away.
blasphemers?
Not right
Okay,
away.
so in the meantime, rabbis will refrain from pointing out to the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury that they are idolaters and blasphemers.
Well, because they're being, you know, look, Claire, just because the Jews are sneaky doesn't mean that they're not going to win. And just because you're so straightforward doesn't mean you're going to win. I mean, sometimes sneaky people win.
Okay, so I'm going to tell Muslims what the Jews are up to.
Well, I don't think Muslims are smart enough to care, because every time I've spoken to Muslims, they say, well, these Noahide laws don't exist and there's nothing for me to worry about. So, I mean,
I
they're
don't
not
think they're
very.
they're denying the existence of the no-hide laws. They're just saying, that this scenario that you predict is not going to happen.
Well, they're so sure that their scenario is going to happen, and like it just, okay, fine, bet against the Jews. I don't know what to tell you. If you just think that they're going to get nowhere with this, and and that is very short-sighted, and that is very dark and Muslim, and like just kind of like, we're going to take care of this by just pushing through the wall. Like, just not everything is pushing through the wall. Like, sometimes, I think the Jews have a much more devious plan. I think they're better in with the Christians. than the Muslims are, and I think Christians would prefer the Noahide laws over Islam because it's not a second revelation.
Yeah, yeah. Who
And
cares what the Christians want? I mean, they're just full of shit anyway. They don't
that doesn't mean
believe
they're
in
not going to
anything.
win. They're full of shit compare when it comes to this God, but none of this makes sense anyway. So it doesn't mean that they're not
Well, it
going to
does make
win.
sense because if the Muslims think it makes sense, and they can make a case for it, and the Jews also think it makes sense.
The point is that the Jews are going to tell the Christians, well, you can keep Jesus for
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Just
the Muslims, if they were being sensible, will say no. These Jews who consort with Christians are themselves up to no good.
well, who's also trying to take over the other people's religion and change it? Do you think Christians don't realize that Muslims want Christians to become Muslims? I mean, at least this way it would happen slowly, and that their Christianity would be taken away from them slowly. Whereas Islam wants
But
to
it's
take
not going
away.
to be taken away from them because there are hardly any Christians. I mean,
Okay,
America, they're
still
not confirmed Christians.
they're still clinging to it, and they consider themselves Christians. And if the look, one is saying over 100 years we're not going to tell you, but over 100 years we're going to get rid of your religion, and the other one just says no, we just want to change your religion now, and we're telling you right to your face, and we're
Which
causing
one
a
is?
fight.
Which
No,
one is?
Muslims are coming in saying, look, we want you to adopt a new religion and adopt the Sharia. And, unfortunately, yes, most of us are non-white, so you're going to have to deal with that kind of cultural impact and all this other kind of stuff. Whereas the Jews are saying, oh, you want to remain Christian? Fine, remain Christian. Keep Jesus. You don't need to get rid of the New Testament. You don't need to do any of this. All you need to
Yeah,
do is
yeah, but
keep Noah.
Muslims are saying the same thing. They're saying you don't have to change your religion, you just have to live under Sharia. I mean, that's
Yes,
what
but
Hamas
Muslims,
have been saying to Jews in Israel.
yeah, but
It's a Hamas charter.
Muslims like to preach their religion, and they actually want you to become Muslim. They don't just want you to be a Christian dhimmi. I mean, they're not going to just sit around while you're some Christian dhimmi. They're going to be infiltrating you to make you Muslims. Whereas it's the Jewish way is less aggressive. It's not as aggressive of an approach.
Well, actually, the the Mus the Muslims will say, "Don't worry about us being mean to non-Muslims because look, chapter 25, verse 256, which is the basis of the First Amendment,
Yes, but
says there is no compulsion in belief, and we're not going to compel you. But look at the Jews. Blasphemy and idolatry is a capital offense. Look at the Torah. It's one of the 36 capital offenses of the Torah. So
and yeah,
whatever.
and they might just say, "Who cares?" And they might say, "Good, we want to get rid of these idolaters and homosexuals over here. There's too many of them." And Islam might go too slowly. And you know what? They might say, "Well, look, all these Noahides are really on their game, and they hate homosexuality. And look at all these Muslims that are, oh well, I'm not sure." It like the answer in Noahidism is very clear. It's clear. Whereas in Islam doesn't even necessarily outlaw homosexuality. It's not in the Quran. The death penalty is not prescribed for it. It's just chastised. It's called disgusting.
Yeah,
But
it is punished, but and it's only for acts of public indecency.
yeah, well, that's not be enough for some
Well, I'm sure it's
people.
enough for people now living in the 21st century that who are used to thinking it's okay. But
Well,
really, I
the
mean,
thing is that the Noahidism is the real McCoy, and we'll really get rid of it, and we'll
no,
really
no, I just don't see how you can keep saying that because the Noahide laws are in the Talmud, which is
which the
when
Jews had. The Jews were given the commandment by God to be a light unto the nations, and that's what they did. And you rejected their, God didn't tell them how to do it. It doesn't in the Torah. It doesn't say what to do to be a light unto the nations. It doesn't say how to do it. It was left to the Jews,
yeah,
and so
yeah. I
they.
mean, does it mean not promoting the Noahide laws?
No, well, it would mean, well, look, they figured it out. They figured it out, and
No, they've just decided not to do it. They've just
okay, and they
not
had
decided not
divine
to be confrontational and let the Christians get away
they
with their idolatrous
because
shit.
it wasn't ready. They weren't ready to do it, and also it's
Well, no,
divinely
ready,
the
because
the
look at
Talmud is
them. We're
okay.
only, what, 15 million?
The Talmud is the Talmud is divinely inspired, and if divine inspiration was enough for Christianity for the first time, divine inspiration will be enough for Christianity the second time. I mean, divine inspiration, who cares? If you have divine inspiration, that means that it's still right. It's still what God wanted. I mean, maybe God didn't come down and write it himself, but it was written by humans who had God working through them. So what's the difference? Who cares if God wrote it himself or if it was written by a human under the direction of God? It doesn't really matter. It's
Because
still
it's idolatry.
it's not
So it's
idolatry.
obviously wrong. It's a made up religion made up by idolaters and blasphemers.
No, it's not. A Noahitism is.
I thought you were talking about Christians.
No, I said that divine inspiration was enough for Christians to take the New Testament, so it'll be enough for them to take the Talmud.
No, because, okay, we can imagine that in the time of Constantine, people were not consulted about whether they want their religion or not. And actually, at the time of Constantine, um, he didn't outlaw any religion. It was only after the death of his son that that the Trinity began to be enforced, and all other kinds of Christians would be prosecuted and persecuted. That is what it says in the Edict of Thessalonica. Have you read that?
Well, we're not in those times anymore, and these are different times, and they're different kinds of Christians, and everything is different now. So you can't just go back there and say, "Well, this happened then, so that's then, and this is now."
Okay, but the prohibition against idolatry and blasphemy remains.
Oh my God, I just want to, you know what do you know that people have been fucking picking up that these alt-right men are picking up my gay men only thing, but turning it into straight. Now they want to make cities with men only so they can stay away from women, and I guess just fuck them in their own cities to,
Well done. Are you pleased?
well, yes, but this goes into my thing that these people, I mean, this is why the right wing is homosexual because if you hate women to the point that you don't even want to live with them, I don't know what to tell you. How are you going to have sex with them? I mean, how do you have sex with them?
How are they going to have children? I mean, they'll just die, won't they?
Yeah,
They'll die without issue, and that's actually what they want.
I
And
just
so they
don't.
don't deserve to live in an advanced civilization. So thank goodness there are all these immigrants already in the West. They'll, obviously, white men don't want to carry on. So it's just as well that there are immigrants living in the West, standing by to take over. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Yes, maybe if they had done that from the start, if they just had made men and women cities and just impregnated the women in their own cities, then everything would have been fine. But putting men and women together, they can't get along, and unless the men are totally in charge and the women have nothing, and then it works. Or then it doesn't even work for everyone. It only works for the men, and then you've even said they don't like patriarchy because that means they have to do all the work, and everything falls on their back, and so they don't even want it either. They
But basically, marriage is the fairer system because, in a way, marriage is a kind of mutual slavery, a contract of mutual slavery. Because, basically, whether you're a man or a woman, if you're not supposed to be divorced and you are stigmatized if you do get divorced, you will have to stick with your choice. You made your bed, so you'll have to lie in it, even though you are bored and irritated by your spouse. Because it's not just about, the couple concerned, it's about their children too. And it's like, well, okay, you don't want to look after your children and you want to abandon them, then they'll be, abused and neglected, and they'll grow up into criminals or retards or underachievers, and forcing parents to live together, even though they are bored and irritated with each other, has the effect of improving the quality of the next generation. And if men and women are saying, we know we don't want to do that, we'd rather die, um, I guess that's how civilizations die. But you don't have to be heterosexual to kind of see the point. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to get married. I mean, actually, you and me, we're both in a unique position of just having to say, well, this is a situation, history backs us up. But, you don't have to force us to marry whoever. It's just true, whether we're married or not. And so actually it's very easy for us. It's not like just because we said all these things we have to marry someone. No, we don't. Anyway, you're already married. We just have to acknowledge historical facts.
Oh my God! Now they don't even want to put them in large tracts of land. They just want to put all the women in cages. I mean, this is just
Where are you finding all these pictures? Is it in the
no.
queue?
The queue they're talking about.
Are they listening to us?
Yeah, I told them to put them in large tracts of land and make a nice, beautiful paradise for them, and they can stay in there, and they don't know about the outside world, and everything's fine, and everything's taken care of, and all this other kind of stuff. And he said, no, they don't deserve that. He wants to put them in like dungeons.
Well, women had better get with the patriarchy, or they'll end up in battery farms, I guess, laying eggs. I'll have a look at these picturesque scenarios.
No, there's no pictures. It's just talk. But
Okay.
yeah.
Somebody will make a meme of it, or make a movie, or
Well, they made that book Swastika Night, where the women were put in concentration camps by the Nazi Germans who were all gay, and impregnated them or whatever and kept them like animals. I mean, that's not good either. I mean, you can't just like leave them all disheveled. They'll get diseased, and then you don't know which ones are smart and which ones are dumb, and which ones, and if you don't give them exercise, you don't know which ones are athletic, and yeah,
yeah, the children will be complete basket cases.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that's a good thing either, to like, put them in like filthy concentration camps. I mean, you have to make it nice, and but I'm gay and they're straight, and so they just want them. I mean, they would, yeah, they want to put them in dungeons. You know what I mean? Like dark, dank, dungeons.
And then
where
occasionally rape them.
yeah, where they don't get it. They want them to get no sunlight so that they have vitamin D deficiency, and the children come out all warped and sick. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, I guess that's a way forward for the West, unless you want to do the kind thing, the right thing.
It won't be my fault if these men do that to women. It won't be my fault.
Well, you can easily surpass these disgusting, degenerate men by saying that, even as a gay man who doesn't care, who doesn't want to have sex with women, you think it's a bit cruel to do these things, and warn women about what's in Western women, what's in store for them if they don't get with the program of secular Quranism.
Or work with gay men to start reproducing. And yeah, if they don't do that, then I can't. There's only so much I'm going. I'm gonna. I don't know. There's only so much, and the fact that women even tolerate these kinds of things. No man would tolerate that. The laws of the Quran that apply to women. No man would ever tolerate that. If you went to a man and say, "Here's going to be your laws," they said no. The problem is that women submit.
No, actually, I would disagree with you there, because basically men agree um, to a certain set of rules in order to have control over their women. And the most important thing is slut shaming. They have to shame sluts because, they can't resist them. So the only way that they can kind of get away with it is to shame sluts. So women won't be so slutty, and then there will be fewer illegitimate offspring, and the quality of the next generation might improve. But only if sluts are shamed. But anyway, what happens is that they kind of leave it to other women to shame sluts.
Well, they don't do it to their.
And the women would shame other sluts because the purpose of shaming sluts is to say, don't marry her, eligible bachelor, marry me. I'm not a slut, but the woman you're thinking of marrying, well, she's a slut, but I'm not. So marry me, eligible bachelor. I mean, that would be the incentive. But Islam has a punishment for people who slander the name of uh, chaste women, and the punishment is 80 lashes. So actually, the Quran is a far superior guide for life than the New Testament. It's got a lot of sensible rules that kind of work to give justice.
Wait, yeah, what about this? That is true. That woman says that Islam does not come forward as a new revelation. Islam claims that it teaches that original revelation that's been corrupted. That's right. Islam goes back to Adam. So it is. So then, therefore, they are subtracting. Okay, so they're even saying that Moses and Joseph and all of them and Moses was a Muslim. So
Yeah.
then they are, well, then they're totally negating the Torah. That's total Torah negationism. So if you're totally negating the Torah, then obviously you're guilty of idolatry. They negated the Torah before the Jews ever even existed.
No, they're basically saying that you are a Muslim if you submit to truth, logic, and morality.
No, that's not what she's saying. She's saying that Islam, you say that God never said that he wouldn't send a second revelation. That's not what Islam is saying. Islam is saying that God sent this revelation to Adam and that the Jews corrupted it.
I thought, the Quran acknowledges the existence of the Torah, which it calls the Taurat. So it does, and the Gospels. It also acknowledges the Christian scripture, but of course, as you would expect, Muslims would say that their scripture is best of all, and
Okay, but
how
they
it,
also say that it precedes the Torah.
well, they're saying once upon a time, before Jews were even created, and Jews were created the moment the Torah was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. The good people would be Noahides.
No, the good
So
people
they're
were
saying
Muslim.
Noah
No,
was a Noahide, Abraham was a Noahide.
no, Noah was a Muslim. That's what Islam would say, that Noah was a Muslim, not a Noahide. The thing is that, so if you're a Muslim, you're totally negating the Torah. Totally negating the Torah.
Well,
Because,
yes, the Muslim would say that the Quran is better than the Torah.
okay, so then why do you even use the Torah if Islam claims that the Torah is like a false revelation?
Well, because the Quran mentioning the Gospels and the Torah is saying, look, all these stories that you have in your scriptures, Jews and Christians, well, the Quran is better. So come on over.
Well, the Quran, it came, obviously they're claiming that all this came from the Quran originally. So if they're claiming Adam was a Muslim, then Noah was a Muslim, then Moses was a Muslim. Then, then it's kind of, then it's kind of hypocritical to use the New Testament and the Noahide laws if you don't even think that they ever had any legitimacy to begin with in the first place. I mean, I have to. What role did the Jews? Well, that woman might be able to answer this. Did the Jews in Islam need to create the Torah? Was it that the Muslims? Okay, was it that the Muslims stopped practicing Islam, so then the Jews needed to come to write the Torah and to create a new way? But then, well, then what was the role of the Jews if everyone was if the Quran was around from the beginning of time? What was even the role of the Jews?
Well, nobody's saying that the Quran was always around,
Well,
but
that
I mean,
Islam was always around. What was the point of the Jew? What was the point of the Jews and their failure to spread the message? If why didn't God just give them the Quran? If they were Muslims, why didn't He just give them the Quran? What was the point of creating Jews if they were Muslims the whole time? What was the point of creating Jews?
to humiliate them and to make, well, to call them out, to kind of, in a way, make an example of them. So basically, the Torah was given to Jews, and it's like, over the centuries they just couldn't follow it anymore. It was just so terrible, and then they created the Talmud, which contains the seven Noahide laws, but they refused to use it properly by ranking
Well,
the four Gentile religions.
well,
And
according to this was all just nonsense anyway. Because I mean, so the Jews were there to So you're saying that God sent the Jews for a short period of time to humiliate Muslims?
no, to humiliate the Jews. I mean, there's
No,
lots of
what? No.
anti-Semitic
What was the
stuff
point
in the.
if we were all Muslim and God could have just said, "Here's the Quran," because you're all Muslim? What was the point of creating the Jews and their Torah and all this other kind of stuff just for them to fail? Just because what was the point? There was no point in that. He could have just given them the fucking Quran and said, "Here's the Quran." What was the point of creating the Jews to fail? To humiliate the Jews for what? They were all Muslims. Like, what were you humiliating them for? And why only them? Why not the whole world if they had all
Yes,
fallen
yes.
out of?
It's also the whole wide world. So okay. So the narrative of Jews is that they're God's chosen people, and the Jews love this title. It's like, oh, we're supposed to be so high up. We're higher up than the stupid Gentile anyway, and and then but they wouldn't follow their own rules properly, and some of them entirely denied the existence of God, and the liberal secular assimilated Jews, but they still claimed the privileges of being Jews because the Gentile was stupid enough to give it them all this Jewish privilege through liberal legislation. And
I have to see what role the Jews play in Islam, because if they were it it seems to I need to know whether the Jews were even necessary for all of this, because then what you're saying that the Quran is okay. Now you cannot say the Quran is a second revelation, because this was all supposed the Sharia as it is today was supposed to be in place with Adam and Noah and Moses. The Sharia was supposed to be in place.
no, how can there be Sharia without the Quran?
Because no, that is true. I've read that before. That's what
I think you're
Mujid
confusing
no
yourself.
Mujid told me that Adam practiced the Sharia.
Did he really? I'll have to check this with him. It
Hold
doesn't
on.
make much sense.
Yes,
Adam,
that's why I'm saying now your whole argument is falling apart. Okay, was Adam a Muslim? Did he
yes,
practice
he
Sharia? Adam in
well, who was it?
Islam. Okay, but he told me that the Sharia was given to. Oh, let's say, okay, was the Sharia given to Adam? Was the Sharia law given to Adam? Oh my God, the Noahide laws came up. This, hold on one second. Let me just search this. Um, oh my God, it's all about the Noahide laws. That's so weird. I said,
Really?
yes. That I said, did Adam was this Sharia given to Adam? And everything, like 12 websites about the Noahide laws popped up. But I'm looking. Hold on. I want to see, because he told me history of the Sharia. Of course, there's no like. What is Sharia and what is it? Come on, just answer the fucking question. Okay, oh, wait, let's look at this. Was the Quran given to Adam? Well, how could Adam have been a Muslim without the Sharia? Hello?
The idea is that a Muslim is he or she who submits to truth, logic, and morality.
Okay, well that's very.
Or to natural law, if you prefer.
Okay,
Are
so
you
then
familiar with the
so
concept of
you're
natural
so
law?
you're saying that Sharia, the laws of the Quran were not practiced until the Quran was written after the Torah. That's what you're saying?
Yes. But there is such a thing as natural law.
Okay, but wait, I don't think that that's the way Muslims interpret this. I think Muslims believe that Adam was not eating pork.
Okay, well, there was no restriction against eating pork until the Torah came along.
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay, I'll just tell you what I think the purpose of the Jews is. I think they are. It has been argued. I think it was Voltaire who said, or rumored to have said, that Jews are evidence of God. Have you watched this video by
no,
JTV?
you're never going to convince me that these Jews are evidence of God. This is just,
Okay, I'm just telling you that this is one of the arguments. You just asked me a question. I'm trying to answer your question by referring to the video that is directly relevant to your question, and now you don't want it answered. I'm sure we've watched it together at least once.
What are you
Or
trying to
haven't
say?
we?
Say it to me. What are you trying to say with this guy? Jews are the evidence of God. What are you trying to say to me?
Okay, so this video starts by saying, oh, these Jews, there's so few of them, everybody hates them, they're so low status. You would have thought they'd be extinct by now by all these Gentile attempts to exterminate them. What keeps them alive? It must be God.
I need to study this. I need to know whether Adam was following all the Sharia law or if it was
How
added.
would you know?
Well, I
Nobody
want to see what.
knows. It's
Well,
just a story.
I want to see what Muslims say, because if the Sharia was in place before the Torah, then all of this is, and then your whole argument falls apart. Then there's no
No, the
reason.
Torah was given to Moses on Mount Sinai at a
Was
certain
it
time. So
according to Muslims? According to Muslims,
no,
was it?
the Jews believe that.
No, but
Jews,
what do Muslims believe?
yeah, Muslims don't deny this narrative. That what they're saying
But
is,
was he given
yeah,
the Torah, or he was given? But was he given the Torah, or was he given Sharia law and then that got corrupted? What was he given?
the Quran mentions the Torah and the Gospels.
I know, but the Torah is
Therefore,
corrupted. The Torah is corrupted.
yeah,
It's not.
well, obviously you would expect Muslims to say the Quran is better than the Torah and the Gospels.
I know, but what do they believe? So this corrupted Torah is that corrupted Quran. Did Moses receive the Quran and then the Jews corrupted it? Is that what happened?
Yes, they're saying there's something wrong with the Torah
Oh, okay. So
and something
then,
wrong with
okay. So then there,
New Testament.
according to Islam, there was never a real Jewish revelation. It was just the Quran for all of humanity, and then the Jews ruined it.
Yeah, basically
Okay, so then
okay,
why are you dealing with the Jews if you already have this narrative that you were there from the very beginning? You don't even need the fucking Jews. What is the point? Then the Jews just, so what? The Jews were just another tribe that got the Quran and then they ruined it.
No, there's two different revelations. There's the Torah and the Quran. Why are you
I don't know.
making it sound like the same thing?
Does Islam say that does Islam say that there was only one revelation and the Jews corrupted it, or that there were two separate, very different revelations?
The latter.
Are you sure?
Yes, because I keep saying that the Quran talks about the Gospels, it talks about the Torah, referring them to by name, but obviously Islam is saying, forget the Torah, forget the Gospels, read the Quran, it's better than the both of them put together. That is obviously the narrative of the Quran.
He received the Torah, one of the revelations called it. He mentioned in the Quran and his name being mentioned 136 times. God, why do you people need to make these things so complex and
It's not
okay,
complex.
so Islam depends on the Jews. There needed to be the first revelation for there to be the second one. Is that what you're saying?
Thank you, yes.
Well, I don't
For
know if
there to
that's
be
what.
a final revelation. So Islam is also dependent on Judaism, but it claims to supersede Judaism and saying, yes, the Quran is all for humanity, that, the Torah is only for Jews. But Gentiles need their own divine revelation. And here it is. Here it is. Gentiles of the world. Here is the
Okay, well,
Quran.
actually, here in Wikipedia, they're saying that when the Quran mentions the Torah, it includes the Talmudic and Midrash writings. It also is with. Okay, let's see. I just want to make sure who said that. Isabel Long. That's in
Well, obviously,
German.
Jews will have to say that the Torah has to be interpreted through the Talmud, whose authors are the Jewish sages of history,
Okay, well,
like
they're saying.
Maimonides, etc.
Okay, well, this German woman is saying that the Talmud is included. And so if the Talmud is being included in the Muslim definition of the Torah, which, if they're including that, then I don't see what's wrong with that if even they are including it.
Sorry, what is your? Can you say that again?
If even the Muslims are including the Talmud as part of Torah, then it has some weight to it, even amongst Muslims. Even
But
though they would.
basically, the Muslims are saying the Quran is better than all, the scriptures of Judaism and Christianity. Obviously, Islam would be saying that, because the whole point
Uh,
of Islam is saying we're better than Judaism, we're better than Christianity. Come to us, Jews and Christians. That is the whole point of Islam. Because it's the final revelation and the better one. I mean, you would expect
I need to
Islam
look
to
in
say
this.
that.
Okay, so then the story is that okay, so Adam didn't have the Sharia, so then nobody was practicing any Sharia. So then nobody was practicing any Sharia, and then God sent the Jews, and they didn't do it right, so then he sent the Quran.
Yes.
Okay, well
Because,
that
okay,
doesn't.
Noah, okay, people
No,
were
wait,
saying
that doesn't
involved.
make sense because people were supposedly following Islam in Saudi Arabia at the time that the Torah was revealed to Moses. The Islam was being practiced in Saudi Arabia at that time.
No, no,
Yes, according to Islam, it is. According to
I mean, the history is that the Meccans were pagans and Muhammad was sent
no,
to
not no in
upstep.
no, they were Ishmael. Ishmael turned them into Muslims, and then they were Muslims, and then they fell from Islam and became pagans, and then after Moses, Muhammad came to restore Islam. Muhammad was restoring Islam to the Arabic pagans. He wasn't bringing in a new religion. He was restoring what they had already been practicing.
Okay, so we can only make sense of this by saying that the power of divine revelation, i.e., scripture, i.e., words that form the basis of laws, is all important. Things have to be written down.
I have to talk to a Muslim about this. I have to ask when exactly the Sharia was written down the first time, because it was around the first time Ishmael brought the Sharia to the pagan Arabs. This is
Do you
not
have a
okay.
Muslim in mind?
This is starting to not make sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense if God created the Sharia and sent Ishmael into Arabia and spread the Sharia, and then they didn't, they fell from the Sharia. So God sent the Jews who failed. So God sent the Sharia a second time. Like, why didn't he just send the Sharia a second time? I mean,
Look,
this
it
is
doesn't make sense to talk about Jews following Sharia.
well, they obviously no, they weren't following Sharia. The pagan Arabs. Okay, Ishmael brought Sharia to the Arabs.
Is it? Are
Then
you sure? Are you sure?
wait, okay, Ishmael brought Islam to the Arabs. Ishmael and Islam, prophet and messenger and ancestor of Ishmaelite and Islam. He constructed the Kaaba. Okay, Ishmael constructed the Kaaba. He was obviously a monotheist. Hold on. Where did Islam originate? Hold on. I know that Ishmael, they were practicing. Did Ishmael, son of Abraham, start this religion? Okay, at least people are questioning. I want to know which nation of Muslim started. Is it from Ishmael or the son of Abraham? Let's see. Ultimately, Ishmael, son of Abraham, moved to the area called Arabia. Muslims agree to this. Okay, they believe that the promised son of Abraham in Genesis is actually Ishmael, not Isaac. Abraham traveled to Mecca with Israel and worshipped the one true God at the Kaaba, a stone idol in Mecca. Okay, so they teach that Abraham went to Mecca with Ishmael and prayed there. But what the fuck was Abraham and Ishmael practicing? Because this was before Judaism. I mean, what were they practicing?
Paganism.
What? What were Abraham and Ishmael practicing when they went to the Kaaba and prayed there? What religion were they practicing?
Okay, I'm just assuming that all the prophets of God before Moses were Noahides. That's what I'm assuming, because Jews were not created until
Okay, well we need to figure this
Moses was
out
handed the Torah on Mount Sinai.
because this
I
is
think
like
that's
a
a
big.
reasonable assumption to make.
Okay, if unless Muslims agree that Ishmael was a Noahide, which I don't think that's what their story is, um, then things are starting to not make sense.
Well,
I never
a
thought of these
Noahide
things.
is a righteous Gentile.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they actually, believe that God had given the seven Noahide laws to Noah and that Abraham and Ishmael were Noahides. I mean, that I think they thought they was was okay. Did Abraham
I'm just stepping away for a
practice
minute.
the Sharia? I'm looking if Abraham practiced the
Okay, I'm
Sharia.
stepping away for a minute.
To Islam. Okay. Yeah, they're not talking about this. I think, obviously they don't want people asking this question. Did Abraham have the Quran? Okay, I have to look this up. Okay, I did Adam have the Quran to read? Okay, as the Quran states, all the prophets preached the same faith of Islam. How about did Adam read the Quran? Actually, I have a feeling that they don't want people asking this question. Okay, there's someone here that's Muslim. Maybe you can answer this. Your name is in Arabic, so I can't, or some foreign language. It looks like you're Iranian. I can't tell that flag that you're holding up. But there is a Muslim here. Did Adam have the Quran? Did Abraham have the Quran? Or even if they didn't have the Quran, were they practicing the Sharia in full? Or was the Sharia only revealed in full after the Jews? And so, if you can answer that. Because if what is the point if Adam had the what is the point of the Jews in Islam? What was the point of writing the Torah? What was the point of that? I'm really becoming interested in this question now because this is starting to pick away at how the religion makes sense. Okay, Adam first built the Kaaba. Okay. I have to look in this deeper. I need to talk to some Muslim who knows the fuck they're talking about because none of you know what you're talking about. None of you read your own scriptures, and all of you just like point to some imam. It's very annoying. Christians know their scriptures and they don't go running to priests. I don't think I've ever spoken to a Christian once in my life who told me to go talk to an imam. I mean, a priest. They know their Bible, they know what they believe. At least the religious ones do. I mean, obviously, this Muslim in the chat can't answer my question unless she left or he left.
Oh, you've gone quiet.
Well, because I'm very interested in, what God made the Jews for. Okay, the Wikipedia said that Adam preached the same Islam as everyone else. So,
Okay, we don't really know that.
okay,
Do
well,
we?
according to Islam, if that's true, what they said in Wikipedia, which let me see if they put the citation there. Let's see if
I suppose, in a sense that, I mean, I know Muslims say classify Adam as a prophet of God.
yes, but was he practicing the Sharia?
Well, probably not, because he was just living in Eden with his wife. Well, not even married to her, but then there was no need
Okay, but what do
for them to
Muslims
be
say?
married. But okay, I'm just trying to think of reasons why Adam might have been called a prophet of God. Maybe he was the first man who acknowledged the the existence of God.
Okay, it just says, okay, Muslims see Adam as the first Muslim, as the Quran states that all the prophets preach the same faith of Islam, and it is quoted, and it comes from Encyclopedia of Islam, is where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then Adam had the Sharia.
Well, Sharia is, as I understand it, law made in harmony with Quranic principles.
Okay, well he had the Quranic principles in Eden. So what was the fucking point of the Jews if the Muslims already had the Quran this whole time and they just lost it? Why not just send them the revelation again? What was the point of the Jews? It makes no sense.
Because they have a written revelation.
What was
So
the point?
obviously,
There was
okay,
no
well,
point. Well, then God just made Jews to fail for no reason, and this was all just a fucking circle jerk, and God's an idiot. So I think that this proves that God is stupid, or at least your God is dumb. And
okay, there's only one Abrahamic God, and obviously the Jews are special because they were the first group of people to receive written revelation,
for what?
written
For what if we were just
of
supposed to follow
law
the
of the laws of God.
Okay, so God, what? But Gentiles already had their own laws. The
Very good, but they did not have it in written form.
But why not just send the people the Quran? What was the point of
Well,
shoot?
he did get round to it. God
Well,
did get
what?
round to sending
Okay,
the Quran eventually.
so then the Jews are just some weird, reasonless, no reason for them, no rhyme, no reason. Just create these people to fail, and you're not going to be using their revelation anyway for humanity, and you want them to give up their revelation anyway, and it was just pointless. That sounds like a
Well, the
pointless reason.
point of the Jews, presumably, was to kickstart the sibling rivalry between Jews and Gentiles. So the idea would be that the Jews are, yeah, they're both Jews and Gentiles created by God. Jews have the special role that they just haven't been able to fulfill because the Torah is too hard, and their deadly sin of pride will make them admit that the Torah is too hard for them because they are such snobs that they reject the Quran, even though it would make sense for them to adopt the Quran, because even by their own account, it is enough to get to heaven just by obeying the 7 Noahide laws. So why would they want to torture themselves with their with all the stuff that they're supposed to follow, which they can't follow because it's too hard for them?
Well, I don't know why God made a law that's too hard for people to follow, and He just knew that they weren't going to be able to follow it. And this just seems fucked up. I mean, I don't know why anyone would believe in this, and why God would do all this stuff and waste all this time, and why waste time with the Jews when you could just send the Quran again. Okay, fine, you gave them the Quran, and then it fell out of practice. So just send Muhammad to restore the Quran, and that's that. And what's this hiatus with the Jews? And it didn't even last to the point that, according to Muslims, their scriptures got translated properly. It's not even like God left behind the proper translation of the scripture. It's like it why? And then why create all this confusion? And then people think that the old revelation is still in practice, and you make the old revelation look like the new revelation is not real. And then you have these people who are left behind, who made the first revelation, who have more authority, who say the second revelation is fake. It just, and then cause all these problems and confusions. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does in a way because if you know the Hegelian dialectic, it would be that Judaism is thesis, Christianity is antithesis, and Islam is synthesis, being the final revelation.
Okay, well, it just, God does things in really not logical or sensical ways.
It is logical. It's
No,
like,
you could just say He could have just sent the Quran and that's it. And if This woman,
To whom would he have sent the
to,
Quran?
what's his
People would
name?
not even have wanted or cared about it.
Why?
Okay, if he wanted to send the Quran, nobody would have got the whole thing. I mean, would they? Because it's like, he wanted to make Gentiles want what Jews had, which was their own revelation. So, up until the time the Quran was revealed, there were all these Gentiles thinking, "Hey, why haven't we got our own revelation? This is terrible," um, and and then they got their own revelation.
Claire?
Yes.
Sorry, I have to go.
Okay.
All
I
right.
look forward
Bye.
to our next discussion.
Well, I'm really into this idea. I need to find out how the Jews fit into Islam now because it's not making sense. But I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.